Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, guys.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa
MashaAllah. So
barakatuh.
this is, I had to beg Mulana to come and join me here, yeah, to get some barakah from him. And I don't know if you guys, obviously, are familiar with Mulana. Yeah, I'm sure you guys at Ibrahim Foundation are familiar with Mulana. So, is this okay? Seeing like this is okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to kind of like block all that. So, Mulana, I want to interview about some fasting masail, yeah? Okay, you want to bring the comments up?
The comments on.
So what you can do is, see, this is why you need apples, guys. Yeah, because apples kind of give you a bit more.
There you are.
Oh,
You saw it, you had it there.
disappeared there.
Yep, TK.
It's a bit there. See the comments.
That's good.
All right, so yeah, Mulana.
Jazakallah Mufti Sahab. Everyone listening here today, just to make clear, we are social distancing.
Yeah, 2 meters according to some parts of the world.
We're taking a different opinion on
Alhamdulillah,
1 meter. Alhamdulillah. As everyone knows, situations slightly changed in all of our masajid. We did advertise this as a face-to-face course, as in physically face-to-face. But due to the circumstances, may Allah bless Mufti Sahab. Thank you to As-Sufa for facilitating the venue and the Maulana Omar for organising all of this today. And it's our first shot of doing an online streamed course on YouTube. So Jazakumullah khair to everyone. As you're aware, it's the Fiqh of Ramadan. It's just a short introduction to understanding what Ramadan is, the purpose of Ramadan, and some masail, some legal issues which people tend to ask again and again, and sometimes we lack the general knowledge of. And we hope by spending these few hours on Sunday today, we'll be able to enlighten the month that we have ahead of us and be a bit more wary and try and answer some of your questions as well. So all the way through the course, inshallah, if you do want to ask a question, you're welcome to put it in on the side. We'll try and catch it from there. And also there's a number that's showing at the bottom of the screen. You can WhatsApp that number directly. That's probably the better option. And we'll take the questions from there, inshallah. Azza wa Jal.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah, Shaykh. Jazakallah khair for, seeing you and having those nice, beautiful Danish, are they called Danish pastries?
Cinnamon
rolls. Cinnamon rolls, okay. Which ones are Danish ones?
I don't know. They're all Scandinavian, aren't they?
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Unfortunately, British does not make too many desserts. So, Alhamdulillah, we are discussing fasting. So, what I'm going to be doing, inshallah, I'm going to be doing a short presentation. And when I mean short, it's going to last for how long?
We've got about 3 hours max to
3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours max to go through quite a lot, and answer questions, and a little
Inshallah.
break in the middle.
Inshallah. Nasir, do you have a clicker? Yeah, if you can have a clicker and just, I think it'll make it easy for me to, instead of asking one to do with the cleave and keep pressing.
Yeah,
Clicker will be easier, just...
Then we're going to have to put it on full screen, aren't you?
No, you don't have to. Yeah. So fasting, fasting every year, I think, the thing about fasting, I'll tell you something one year. You know, one thing when I was young, yeah, and I'm still young, by the way. When I was young, I used to find, Eid, those takbirat in Eid.
Yeah.
I could never remember them. It was like in Eid, you either have to watch the guy next to you. Yeah.
You mean for namaz?
Yeah. So it's either the guy next to you and you're hoping, I hope he knows what he's doing. And then he does his, raising of the hands, and then, so either he knows what he's doing, or it's a matter of, you wish that, the Imam before the Salat explains everything to you. It's one of those things that it's an annual thing, you kind of forget, don't you? So I think fasting as well. Everyone kind of knows the main kind of aspects of fasting, but it's just those little points that you tend to sort of like have. So first of all, when it comes to fasting, I'm just going to tell you something about fasting here. Fasting itself, for me personally, fasting is more about connection with Allah. Yeah, this is something I can't avoid it. Like if I was to fast, na'udhu billah, obviously, if I was to fast and I had no intention of connecting with Allah, it would be impossible in Ramadan to do that. I don't know, you probably have the same experience, don't you?
Yeah.
And there's probably lots of people out there, you guys as well have the same experience. Whether you pray throughout the year, whether you go for Jummahs, whether you give your zakat, that's some separate between you and Allah. But when it comes to fasting, everyone has the same experience of fasting. It's like subhanallah, Allah creates inside of you this automatic, like kind of like a fast track to get close to Allah, and you wish you had that all throughout the year. The amazing feeling of connecting with Allah, and even the suhoor feels good as well. Like normally getting up in the morning is a headache. Suhoor feels good. Breaking your fast feels good. Going for tarawih feels good. I think personally for me, Ramadan is about connecting with Allah. But there are rules and regulations regarding fasting, so we have to speak about those. So first and foremostly, how many fasts have you kept this year? When you were kids, you would always ask that question, wouldn't you? You would say, how many fasts have you kept? You go, so far I kept 2. Or kept 3, after the entire year.
The kids this year are going to be suffering.
Yeah,
they're keeping quiet a lot.
And they don't have any excuses, right? They don't have
exactly
GCSE exams and all that. So first and foremostly, we're going to be talking about the definitions of fasting. We're going to be talking about the intention of fasting. We're going to be talking about recommendations of fasting, the makruhat of fasting, and the things that invalidate the fasts, and frequently asked questions. And if you guys have any questions or anything, you guys can put the questions on the comments. I'll be reading them, Maulana will be reading them as well, and inshallah, we can bounce off each other, Maulana. Yeah,
absolutely,
inshallah. So, Nasir, are they seeing the slides move? Yeah.
I don't know if they're seeing the slides move.
Just wait for us. So
just let them know that there's 2 Nasirs in the room.
There's 2 Maulana Nasirs in the room, yeah. There's a well-known Maulana Nasir, international one, and there's a local one. So there's two types of Nasirs in the world. Okay, excellent. So this moves now, yeah. So it's okay. Yeah? Okay, so the first thing is, when it comes to fasting, the word fasting itself is very important for us to understand, because our religion is, based upon the Quran, and the Quran was revealed in the Arabic language, and so we have to understand how the Arabic language has defined the words that shape our religion, right? So we have many words in our religion, for example, like salat. I don't know. Do you find it when you read the Quran? Do you find this when you read the Quran in Arabic and you read the Quran in English? The English sounds just too cringy.
Yeah, it does. You can never get the real taste of the Quran from artificial flavors.
Yeah, definitely. That's an excellent point there. I'll probably steal it from you. But that's an excellent point. I mean, if you think about it, like the words like worship. Have you ever come across the word worship in the Quran?
Yeah.
We worship Allah. It sounds very formal, doesn't it? It sounds you have to wear like certain type of clothing, and you have to be in a certain location, and you have to have a certain kind of seriousness about yourself to perform worship. And this word worship, I remember we went to Spain. Have you ever been to Spain, in the south of Spain, where Andalus used to be? So a lot of the churches are renovated masjids, right? Sadly. So when you go there, one of the key things that you'll see, and the locals will tell you this, is that when they converted them into churches, they made the windows smaller, and they blocked out as much light as possible. So we asked the local guy, who was a Muslim, and he was like a tour guide, a historian as well. And he said the thing is, the Christians believe you have to make the world feel as though the world is like doom and gloom. You have to live in the world as though you're living in punishment, torture. That's how you have to make it feel. So when they go to church, it's all dark and gloomy, and you have to get But when Muslims had it, the doors were wide open, they say Masjid Qurtuba. All 4 sides, it was open. There was no gates, there was nothing. And light was coming from everywhere. And it was just so airy and so light and so nice. So when we have this term worship, what tends to happen is we don't feel comfortable with it. We don't feel informal with it. It's a very formal word, and many people, they can't see that intimate connection with Allah. That intimacy can never come with formalities. Intimacy always comes with informality. So when you're informal, then you start to you lower your guards, and then you start connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I personally think Like understanding the definition is very important. So the word sawm in the Arabic language actually means to abstain, right? To stay away from something. So basically COVID-19. Yeah? That's the Arab Jahiliyyah time. If they had a explanation for sawm, they would say isolation. Yeah, to isolate yourself, to cut yourself off from other things. And it's interesting how these words fit in with the fasting that we do. In the Quran, the word sawm is actually used in two places, two usages. One is it's used for siyam, kutiba alaykum siyam. And the other place, guess what it's used? Controlling your tongue, not speaking. Inni nadartu lirrahmani sawman. And it's interesting, isn't it? It's like Allah wants you to think about fasting and your tongue as well, to show the importance of the two. As in Maryam alayhi salam, she made a vow to Allah. Is it Maryam alayhi salam?
Yeah, that's right.
Inni nadartu lirrahmani sawman falam ukallim an-nas insiya. So, subhanallah, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He wants us to reflect on fasting is not just about ticking boxes, right? Like little kids in the maktab, you give them like this sheet, and then you're going to say to them, okay, Monday I want you to bring this back here. And Mullah, if you haven't listened to your parents, if you haven't, gone to Salat on time, I want you to write it down. And then you come on Monday to your teacher, and your teacher looks at it. That's like a training process for kids. It's very good. And the Prophet encouraged us when it comes to kids, train them into Islam. They will never love Islam as an adult would, because they can't. Kids are always very regimental. What's the word? Protocol. Yeah, they follow protocols, right? So kids, they never love something from their heart. Rarely they will. Maybe there's a few that will show kind of affection, but kids will just follow steps. Once they get to the age of bulugh, that's when they can think for themselves. That's when they can realize, and that's when they start to kind of explore the world around them. So many of us, I personally feel, when we look at Islam, the way we kind of see it is a very sort of like tick box kind of style. And then we check our cards with everyone else's cards. Bhai, you done your Fajr? Well, I don't mind, yeah. Yeah. Have you done your Jummah? I don't mind. Yeah. And then we measure everyone with that kind of card. Yeah. How many points have you got out of 10? Yeah. That means this is how close you are to Allah. Yeah. And I personally feel that is not a right way to go about it. And the Sahaba radiallahu, if you look at the Prophet ﷺ, instead of this card system, the Prophet ﷺ had a very, very like a direct system that was connecting everyone to Allah. Someone would come to the Prophet ﷺ and would say to the Prophet ﷺ, O Messenger of Allah, he says, I've heard that you say that Allah has prescribed 5 times salat. He goes, yes. He goes, I'm not going to do anything else. La azidu ala hada wa la anqus. That's it. I'm just going to do 5 times namaz. Nothing else. The Prophet said, Sadaqa aflaha in sadaqa. He said to the Sahaba, if this guy is truthful, this guy is successful. Look at that. The Prophet ﷺ, he connects people. He makes them understand the core essence. What is the core essence? The core essence is to realize, in reality, we're all trying to get to Allah. It's like, I've got a car, yeah. Yeah, my car's not a very fancy car. But let's say I'm driving on the motorway. Sometimes you drive on the same motorway, don't you? But when you see that Bentley drive next to you, or when you see that Ferrari drive next to you, and then you think to yourself, shall I just put my foot down a bit more and try to race him, right? It's not one path. Yeah, everyone has their own road and everyone has their own vehicle, and everyone's vehicle drives in a different way on everyone's road. And the idea is not to see how fast you can go with the other person. The idea is to see how you fare on that road, how well you drive on that road. Yeah, and that's what life is all about. So when it comes to fasting, this concept of abstaining from the sins of the tongue and the sins of fasting is like a training process. Yeah, it puts you into this kind of like system and says, right, for 1 month you're going to do this crash course, and at the end of it, you're going to come out, and hopefully, inshallah, you're spiritually you're going to become a better person, and morally as well. So literally it means to abstain. Islamically, it means this: to abstain from food, number 1, drink, intercourse, from before Fajr all the way until Maghrib. And it has to be done to get closer to Allah. Meaning it has to be done as an act of worship. Right? So what does this mean then? So let's say there's a guy, and this guy like just knocks out. I had a friend, I'm telling you, madrasa. Yeah, I'm going to tell the truth here. I'm not going to brush anything over. This guy slept for 3 days in madrasa.
Standard practice.
We used to call him John. So this John, he slept one day for 3 days straight. And let me tell you about this John here. So one day basically it was Ramadan, and I was staying in the madrasa. Right, I didn't go home that year. So me and John were in the madrasa because I was at that moment I was like doing hifz. I just did hifz like a few juz, not much. So night time I got up here and in after Taraweeh I said to John, guess what? You know suhoor, I am gonna make proper British home suhoor, yeah. Because normally over there for suhoor you have like salan, yeah. You got like curry, you got roti, you got mild rice or something in the morning. Why not all of us can eat that? Yeah, I don't know Malana, if you eat it or not.
Some people like that.
Yeah, some people like it, they have to eat that, and I can't eat it. Me, I'm just a porridge man. Yeah, porridge, toast, give me some egg, and that's it. Khalas. So he goes, yeah. Like, me and him were sitting there going, yeah, we're going to make some proper, really nice, British. So I went and bought some bread. I bought eggs. I bought beans as well. I went to this faraway shop that sells imported, food from Europe or something. And I bought beans, Heinz beans I got. Came, put the tea on, making the tea. I was, frying the eggs. And I was doing this. And I woke up like really early as well. And then I came in the room and I said, John, get up. We're going to eat. He looked at me, he goes, no, it's okay. I'm not going to eat today. And I made all this food. And as I go to waste, no one going to eat in the daytime. And I was thinking, John is the laziest guy I've ever seen, right? Even in suhoor time, he's not even bothered to eat suhoor. And he will fast. But it's not about sleeping all day. So if a person was to sleep all day and had no intention of getting closer to Allah, worship, the fast is not done. Basically, this is according to many of the scholars. So this is why you abstain from eating, drinking and intercourse from Fajr time all the way till Maghrib. Right? Now look, the aim, if you think about this, food is halal, drink is halal, and intimacy with one's spouse is halal, isn't it? But the idea is when it comes to fasting, it's like you want to take yourself out of your body and look at your body and say, how so absorbed is my body in the dunya? How do you test absorption? You test it in these three things: what you consume and the desires. Imam Ghazali actually has a section in his Ihya Ulumuddin called the section of breaking the two desires. Yeah, breaking the two desires refers to the desire of the private parts and the desire of the stomach. And interestingly, the Prophet ﷺ said it as well, doesn't he? Yeah, he says, the hadith. So translation of the hadith, one I mentioned, is a person who guarantees for me protection of whatever goes in his mouth and whatever happens around his private area. I will guarantee for him Jannah. This is like saying the key to getting into Jannah, you can say, is as long as you don't abuse these two areas. And this is the link that fasting it creates this idea of being able to cut down on these things so you can become more refined inside. Like your senses become more refined. Anything else to add to that one? Okay, so sorry, is there any water? So guys, yeah, you guys are drinking water at home and probably drinking tea and probably not even combed your hair or something, yeah. And us guys had to comb our hair. We had to comb. Well, anyway, Mulana combed his hair. I don't know what I mean.
You just put a turban on and comb.
Yeah, I just put my turban on.
Let's hide our hair.
My hair's gone long as well. Thinking at home. And normally, I don't go to the barbers. Yeah, I want to be honest. Yeah, I save that £8 or £10 to the barbers.
For Umrah.
I just get my hair and just cut it. Or get someone at home, just cut it for me, right? And I just do that, and it saves me time. Yeah, and alhamdulillah, And you every year you go for Hajj and Umrah, so you have to cut your hair.
So unfortunately, this would have gone in Easter holidays, but we're sitting here.
Yeah.
So now maybe Hajj, inshallah.
Oh yeah.
I'll make it easy.
Yeah. Are you still open for Hajj?
At the moment we are. There's no instruction from Saudi, so Hajj is still going on unless things change on the ground in a few weeks. Inshallah, Allah make it easy. Obviously, a lot of us are connected in Ramadan to Saudi Arabia. A large number of us go to Umrah in Ramadan as well, and that connects to the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, where the person who does Umrah in Ramadan, what's the virtue of it? The person who's
testing me on.
It's as if he has done Umrah with me.
Subhanallah.
So a lot of people, unfortunately, we are at that stage where we're feeling it because so many people were scheduled to go, but we're still here. So alhamdulillah, we're learning. We can learn from a distance. I think we're going to get a true Ramadan this year in the essence of a lot of people are asking how we're going to do our Taraweeh, how we're going to be doing our fast when the masjid is not going to be there. But I think it takes it to a real Sunnah Ramadan this year where we can actually sit at home and do our own Taraweeh. We can actually do our own Tahajjud. A brother was saying, I was in conversation with a friend from America yesterday, and he was saying our community is so used to being spoon-fed. We really have never created a congregation of people that can stand on their own 2 feet and do things for themselves. Simple stuff like just making dua. They'd rather come to the masjid and say, Maulana, make dua. I'm just going to do Ameen, 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 Ameen. And,
Yeah, it's true.
But in this Ramadan, our congregations, our listeners out there are really going to have to do it themselves, read the Quran themselves. You're going to have to take the time out yourselves and maybe go online and attend a class, sit down with a pen and paper. How many times do we complain?
No.
Sit down with a pen and paper and make notes. You see the odd person sometimes in Jumu'ah or sometimes in a bayan that will come with a pen and paper or they'll make notes. But that time's come now where Allah has returned us to our homes. We're going to be doing. One brother called me yesterday and he goes, Maulana, where can I get a speaker from? I go, what for? He goes, we're doing Taraweeh in our house. 2 of the brothers are Hafidh. So I go, this is the initiatives that we're going to have to take now and turn our homes into masjids and try and do this at home as well, inshallah.
And maybe that's what connects fasting. Because if you look at all the other ibadat, they're very like communal ibadats. Yeah, but fasting is like, there's nothing to do with community, it's personal, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the fast, apart from iftar, which all of us love attending iftar parties, which have gone totally out of control over the past 4, 5, 6 years, if you ask me. Everyone's, what are you doing? I mean, iftar in so-and-so place, so-and-so banqueting hall, so-and-so this place, so-and-so that place. And I'm thinking as a person that's sat at our teachers' feet, they always told us that iftar time and suhoor time is a time of dua. And one off here and there is okay, but to make it a total social aspect, like a party for 30 days, sometimes pulls out the spirituality of the month. So maybe this, inshallah, this hikmah from Allah is to give us a Ramadan where we truly can sort of turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, and utilize that.
What are the viewers saying?
Viewers, I don't know, what's Maulana almost at the back over there? Have you got any?
Are the viewers...
You doing the questions now or afterwards?
If they want to push them through as they come along, we'll have these little...
The Punisher, mashallah.
Who's the Punisher?
You got the Punisher here, guys. Allah
save us from...
No, the Punisher of the nafs.
It's a month of mercy, yara. Even the word scared me.
Mashallah. Alhamdulillah.
You just feed him in. Go on.
Okay, so so now we're going to move on to the next. If anyone has any questions on that fasting, right? Next slide. So the next slide basically is to do with this idea of like intention. So as Muslims, we know that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this connects exactly what you're saying, Mullah, which is the idea of having this personal link with Allah. Personal link with Allah. And maybe we can word it like this. Islam is about being an active Muslim rather than being a passive Muslim.
Yeah, that's right. I like that.
Instead of being a passive Muslim where you're kind of spoon-fed in Islam and you kind of just go with the flow, and then if the flow stops, you stop. It's more about, you know what? Let me ask myself, how close have I got to Allah, and how can I, pray my salat, and how can I fast? All of this, it revolves around a concept called intention, niyyah. And, I was thinking about this. I was thinking, like intention, like why is intention emphasized so much in our religion? مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ and إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. So, I thought about it one day, and I was watching this, because I watch tutorials. So I was watching this podcast, and this guy was basically saying, he goes, these multinational companies, he goes, when they earn a very high salary, he goes, they don't get high salary just for sitting on a chair. These guys are very, very active. And these guys get up in the morning, like 5 in the morning.
That's right.
Non-Muslims, they do their yoga. They have like a schedule, like every day they have a schedule they have to go through. And it's like they know exactly where they're going to be in like 5 or 6 years' time on Thursday at 2:15, what their schedule is.
Yeah.
Like that's how precise these guys are. What is the intention, isn't it? In other words, you planning, you having one of these phone planners and putting in your planners that, you know what, I'm going to remind you, I've got to do this, got to do this, got to do that. This is basically, you're making intention, you're writing your intention. You know, sometimes in some of those fiqh books, they say verbal intention is a good thing to do sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys do written intentions. These guys are like writing their intention in their phones, right? Because they know that the written intention is going to remind them more, it's going to make it more serious to them. So it's like this idea of ibadat has to be connected with intentions. Intention is key, right? If a person has an intention, subhanallah, something that is worthless in the dunya can have so much importance in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what narrations that we find. There's a famous narration, I forgot the exact wording. Have you come across it? Like, I think Ali radiallahu anhu narration that intentions will increase your ibadah, your actions, magnify your actions. Something of those lines. Yeah, that a small action that you do, but if you have the right intention, it can multiply. Something of those. Have you come across that?
I was going to give you the tabligh riwayah.
We gotta say it, go on.
This is just
Is that it? Yeah. So I mean, if you think about it, this is the reality. Sometimes people think, oh, you're so lucky, you're a Maulana, you're so lucky, Arabic, you're so lucky. It's like many of us look at ulama, we think we can never reach their level, they're always going to get loads of reward, and we can. But if you look at the Sahabas, they never ever was like that. No one ever kind of like thought in that manner. Everyone thought that they're going to, فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ الْمُتَنَافِسُ, all going to try to compete to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And intention is that thing. Like intentions, ulama saying you can reach with your intention that which you can't reach with your actions.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, because your intention can go further than even your death. Your actions stop at your death, isn't it?
Yeah.
But your intention will just carry on and on and on. I mean, you look at, for example, like what's his name? The guy who made Apple, man, famous Apple.
Steve
Jobs. Steve Jobs. Yeah. You see, he was an inspiration to so many. Like the reason we've got touchscreen phones most likely is because of this guy.
Yeah.
Because this guy had a vision, and his vision, or you can call it intention, it went beyond his life. He died, but he worked for his vision. And this is, I think, what we need to do as well. So when it comes to fasting, we have to have intention. What's the intention? Intention is simply this one. Let me tell you what easy way to remember intention is. If someone was to ask you a question that, are you going to fast tomorrow? And you say yes, that's intention. Khalas, intention's done. In other words, as long as you can say yes to that question, that means you have an intention. And this is why sometimes you see people when they're coming for salat and they're standing there and the imam's in ruku and you're thinking, this guy's going to miss the ruku, man. And he's standing there and he's saying, I'm standing in front of Kaaba and praying 4 rakats. And he says a long little thing that he recites. And then by the time he finishes it, imam's got up from ruku. And you think he didn't have to do any of that. All he had to do was just get into the ruku. Yeah. So sometimes we kind of take these formalities to another level, right? We don't have to have all these formalities. Yes, it's good to read the dua. وَبِصَوْمِ غَدٍ نَوَيْتُ, right? So I'm intending with the fast of tomorrow. We don't have to say that. As long as your intention, look, I'm going to fast tomorrow. Your fast can actually start from Maghrib. Yeah. So normally salat, the scholars say that your intention has to be right before you say takbir. Right? It has to be right before that. And some say you can even be further before that as long as there's no action which is contrary to salat. But fasting, you don't have to make an intention before Fajr. In fact, you don't even have to get up before Fajr. Right? You can make an intention from Maghrib. Because according to Arabs, the day starts from Maghrib. So from Maghrib, the day starts, the next day as in, and then therefore the intention starts from there. So let's say, for argument's sake, let's just come out with this scenario. Zayd, he eats his iftar, and let's say he prays his Isha, and this is Taraweeh, and let's say, I'm just going to have a good sleep, man. Goes to sleep. And he intends, before he went to sleep, I'm going to be fasting tomorrow. And then the guy knocked out John, let's say John. John is knocked out, and he wakes up, the next day, 1 minute before iftar. 1 minute before iftar he wakes up. So is his fast done? That's the question. So according to this rule, yes, his fast is done. Because he abstained from eating, drinking, intimacy. And he had an intention, that was valid. Second scenario, what's the latest you can make your intention? So the latest you can make your intention is half day in the next day. So for example, let's say tomorrow's Monday, So if I start my fast, for example, like if it's that day today, obviously I can't start my intention now for Maghrib. But let's say I forgot, John went to sleep, knocked out, no Maghrib, no Isha, no Fajr. Yeah. He wakes up the next morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. Is his fast valid if he makes an intention from now? So in Salat, that's not allowed. Like, let's say you start your Salat, Allahu Akbar, and now in your head, like you think it is, which Salat should I pray now? Yeah, I'm working it out. Okay, I'll do Zuhr. And you can't, according to majority, you can't do that. But in fasting, you can do that. You can, in fact, the Prophet ﷺ, he sometimes, it comes in a narration, Aisha radiallahu anha says, sometimes he would wake up in the morning and ask his wives, is there anything to eat? And they would say no. He said, in that case, I'm fasting. Yes, subhanAllah. I mean, the Prophet ﷺ's fasts sometimes were because there was no food available. And he didn't make a fuss of it. Like, sometimes you don't have food available. And what do? You put on social media, make dua, guys. Yeah, the fridge is running a bit low. Yeah, the energy drinks are a bit low. I don't have my Lucozade today. I don't have my porridge today. Yeah, milk's run out. Right? But the Prophet ﷺ, he utilized the opportunity to get close to Allah. No food in the house? Alhamdulillah, let's get close to Allah. Yeah? And this is how, the Prophet ﷺ, he inspires and he teaches us about the importance of, this whole concept of fasting. Right? Fasting should be a means of us becoming better people.
Just a question to add on to that. Wouldn't it suffice the fact that all of us now know that when the month of Ramadan is going to come, we're going to keep all of our fasts full stop?
Yeah. So, some of the scholars, in fact, like some of the scholars, the Malikis, they say you only need intention at the beginning of the month.
Yeah.
So let's say a guy, he knew it's going to be like fasting tomorrow. So Maghrib time, he made intention. And he went to sleep, John. And he went to sleep for 10 days. All 10 days fast valid.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, but according to Hanafis, there's an ikhtilaf amongst the Hanafis. The majority say that no, you have to have an intention for every day. Right? At least from Maghrib or at the latest midday the next day.
By default, everybody has that intention though, isn't it? The vast majority
Yeah,
of Muslims
but
by default have
you'd
that.
be surprised, for example, like, what happens? And I'll give you 2 examples where this happens, yeah? And maybe if there's any kind of viewers that have any questions.
I just look at this and see the punishment and get scared, so...
Some people are saying there's echoing going on.
Yeah, you should just fix. Just give you a second. There's a delay as is.
Okay, so is there like some other speaker system on?
We've got some...
You know why there's an echo? Let me tell you why there's echo. Because Maulana's here. Allah, he's reverberating.
Does that mean I'm hollow? Do you mean I'm very hollow?
Just give it a couple of seconds. Should resolve.
Inshallah. We've got some Tarawih questions. We'll try and do that in the Tarawih section. The sound is...
There's not that double mics on, is there?
No.
Can we pray Tarawih via video link whilst we just... That's just a very simple one.
So, a good question. Can we pray Tarawih via video link? So, this question, do you want me to give short answers or do you want me to give...
Nah, short one. Short and simple, this one.
Short and sweet, majority say no.
Yeah.
Yeah? You won't be allowed to.
What is the reason they say no generally?
Why
just quickly, the reason...
This is why I said that.
No, but I know when the Mufti Sahib starts answering, it's going to get really stretched. For the main simple reason...
Let me explain to you. There's 2 issues in Salat which the scholars seem to have an agreement upon. One is that if you're praying behind an Imam, you have to be behind him.
That's what I was wanting you to sort of...
And the second problem is the gap between 2 safs. What's the largest it can be? Like, let's say Imam's praying in Masjid al-Haram. So let's say we're in the UK, yeah? So we're over here in the UK. Over here. And Imam's obviously... And he stands, right, like at... we say 11 o'clock, he's standing at 11 o'clock. Yeah, everyone stand 11 o'clock here? Right? Not 11 o'clock in the daytime. 11 o'clock as in location. So he's standing at 11 o'clock. And everyone's praying from there. So clearly you're behind the Imam, aren't you? Alhamdulillah, you're behind the Imam. But the problem is that can we pray behind the Imam from here? Because there's big gaps on there.
Yeah.
So because of this big gap, the scholars have said that there is a limit to how much gap you can have between 2 safs.
Yeah.
Right? And according to the Hanafi school, some say two rows in which a boat can pass through. And some say a road, some say a river. So they have these different views in the Hanafi madhab based upon their times and questions that they were asked. Some have said even like 18 meters You can have an 18 meters gap between the saf, as long as it's in the same vicinity. And some have said, like Shurum Bulali, rahimahullah, his opinion is the most flexible. He says, as long as you know what the imam's doing, you can pray behind him. Doesn't matter where you are. Yeah, but his view is not the one that's like taken by many of the scholars. The point is, it wouldn't be allowed. Yeah, because the idea is to have congregation, and it's not, you have synchronization. Allah, Subhanallah. Yeah, those two things are missed here in isolation. On Fridays, the Jummah Mubarak texts that go around, they've stopped. What's happened, bro?
That's true, I noticed that.
Jummah Mubarak texts have stopped because every time I wake up in the morning, there's like a long narration and you know exactly what they're going to say saying. And read Surah Kaf and do this and do that, and then you say Jummah Mubarak.
Maybe they think that if there's no Jummah namaz, it's not no Jummah
Mubarak, can it? You guys let me know. Yeah, please, can you guys, if you guys are Jummah Mubarak senders, please let me know what's happened as the union of Jummah Mubaraks cancelled this year. So that's one thing. And the second thing is that, like when you give him a talk and like that Subhanallah guy, and it gives you like, Allah, let me carry on. Let me add some more spice to that.
I think we'll have some Nala Takbeers and Subhanallah, inshallah. Is having intention fard? It's a good one. So
so having intention is fard, like we said. It's very, because the scholars say you have to differentiate between a habit and between an act of getting close to Allah.
Yeah. Otherwise, some people could not have food from morning till evening till after midnight. Is that counted?
Yes. So I was going to give you two examples, one night. So how is important intention necessary? So for example, like this. Look, imagine it's tomorrow is possibly going to be Ramadan, one of those ones. Yeah. And let's say I don't know that, and I woke up the next day, right? And I opened my eyes, and I had no intention of fasting, and I checked my phone, and someone texted me, "Oh, it's fasting today." Message going around. Yeah, they made a mistake last night. It is fasting today. Yeah.
So open a can of worms.
They made a mistake, guys. It's fasting tomorrow. So then I think, what should I do? What did Maulana Nasir say in the bayan? So Maulana Nasir said you're allowed to make your fast all day till half day, because that's how the Prophet ﷺ.
Yeah.
So therefore, that's one. Second one is this. If there's like a traveler, a guy, it's might come a bit later. If there's a person who's a traveler, the Quran has said two types of people are exempt from fasting in Ramadan without sin, right? And they make them fast up later. One is an ill person, right? Marda is in kuntum marda. In kuntum marda or ala safarin. You're ill or you're on a journey. فَإِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. You can make up the fast on another day. So let's say, for example, now I want to go on a journey, but I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I don't know if I'm going on a journey. Like my journey is going to start at 10 o'clock in the morning. So therefore, by Fajr time, I'm not on a journey. So what should I do? The person can abstain from fasting and then make the intention at that moment. Yeah. So let's say the journey gets cancelled, 10 o'clock, but then you think, I might as well fast. Right? So you can do that.
That's a really good point, actually. I always struggled with that masala because many of us go Umrah in Ramadan or we travel in Ramadan, and I've always struggled with sometimes that you've got a 17, 18, 19 hour flight or transit sometimes. And I've always struggled with that. Jazakallah for that, Mufti. We'll do the rest moving on.
Okay, so next is moving.
No, sorry, let me move it over to here for you. There you go.
So, alright, so next. So question. This is a question for you guys here, and in the chat box you guys can answer this question. Zainab woke up at 9 a.m. in the morning, missing suhoor, sehri. Can she still fast? So in the comments, you guys can answer that one.
Yeah, that one's a children.
Common one, yeah. This is a common one that people ask. Zainab woke up at 9 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, think about it. She didn't have anything to eat. She had nothing to eat at suhoor, sehri. Can she still fast? Is her fast valid or not? So put the answer in the and we'll come back to that inshallah. Okay, answer? Yes. Answer yes. The answer is yes. So if you guys got that right, yes. How many people got that right? Let's check it out.
Yeah, we got two.
Yeah.
Someone retracted their message. Can you believe it?
Hamza, bro. Hamza, come on, you're a lion, man. Lions don't retract, bro. Yeah. So the man saying, yes, she can. Yes. Till midday. Allah, fuqaha here. That's it. I don't know what you guys are doing in.
Just to clarify, midday. Midday is from when zawal.
Yeah, that's an excellent, good question.
Yeah. So
no. Midday is like this. Midday is different from Zawal. So
Go on
midday is, from Fajr starts. Let's say Fajr starts at 4
Yeah.
and Maghrib is at 9,
Yeah.
yeah, which is about 8 hours.
Yeah.
You split that in half.
Yeah.
How many hours?
So our fasts are going to be round about from probably about four, let's say 4-ish, up till about
So
8
5,
o'clock.
6, 7, 8, 9.
4 till 4.
So 5 plus 12, how much is that? It's quite a lot.
Our fast is going to be about 16
Seven.
hours, so 8 hours.
17 hours. Let's say 17 hours.
17
yeah?
hours, go on then.
So divide 17 to 2, 8 and a half.
8 and a half.
So from Fajr, count 8.5 hours up.
So it's about 12:30 then.
But that is
Yeah.
So it's just before Zawal.
Yeah. But it's actually got nothing to do with Zawal then, has
No,
it?
it hasn't.
It's actually got to do with
What
dividing.
I would say is, if a
Did-
person took this position and kept 12 p.m., 12 noon
Yeah.
as the marker,
Yeah.
I think that would be okay.
Yeah.
Easier to
I
keep
say.
it easy.
But generally, we're just dividing the daylight hours into half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Is that what we're saying?
That's
So
it,
if
that's
we,
it.
well, not daylight hours actually from dawn, which is just a bit
Yeah,
before
dawn.
daylight, when the dawn breaks. So we're breaking from dawn daylight hours if we include the dawn time
Yeah.
up to daylight hours and divide it into half, inshallah.
That's it.
Okay then.
Okay, so let's see. Yusuf is going to be happy, crying and smiling at the same time. MashaAllah. Okay, next. Recommended. Okay, now what kind of things are recommended? Now imagine it like this, yeah? Imagine imagine, let me tell you. Imagine ibadat, like you're wearing clothes. Yeah?
Ibadat means worship, yeah?
Yeah, ibadat, sorry, worship. You're wearing clothes. So for example, like, what clothes must you wear if, let's say, you're going for a walima? You're going for a walima now.
Yeah.
What must you wear?
You shouldn't ask them all of that question, man. As is the same answer for everything.
Okay.
Recycle the white jubba.
Yes. wrong person. No, but you can. Now someone on his way, the kind of slick, sort of like overcoats and the scarf as
blazer.
well. Yeah. So what's necessary to wear? I would say, like, clothes that cover your private parts. Okay. Then you have something which is recommended. You don't have to wear it. Yeah, but it's like recommended. So you might wear like a waistcoat, sherwani, yeah, or a scarf, or a little bit imama, things like that. So in ibadat, acts of worship, there's also things which are core essential to the ibadah, without which the ibadah is not valid. And then there's certain things which are like extra decorations, right? You're kind of like decorating it, you're adding some extra things. The reason you're adding these extra things is because, remember, like, Ibrahim alayhi salam, I'll tell you about Ibrahim. Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he built the Kaaba, right? What's the Maqam Ibrahim? If you take the opinion that Maqam Ibrahim is the stone that he stood on, why is that something that's being preserved for? Think about it. Didn't Ibrahim alayhi salam have a house? Why is that not preserved? Didn't Ibrahim alayhi salam have some clothing? Why is that not preserved? So Shaykh, Imam Sha'rawi in his tafsir, he says this is because, like, Allah does not normally in the Quran preserve or mention the importance of relics. Why does he do this? Because he says Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he built the Kaaba, he only had to build a bait, and a bait is just up to your head.
Yeah.
So he took this rock and he said he wanted to go a step further for Allah, and he built it above, and Allah preserved that rock. That this is the guy you want to follow. The guy who's going to go the extra
mile.
Yeah, look at that, Ajiba.
Yeah, subhanAllah.
Yeah, that just kills it, that is.
But then Allah then obviously took it further up.
Yeah.
Allahu Akbar.
And that's later on. But Ibrahim said, no one's there. Imagine, sometimes, like, you're working for an organization and there's hardly anyone with you. And you think to yourself, you know what, I'm just going to do up to him and that's it. And that's enough. But then you think to yourself, you know what, Allah on the Day of Judgment, Allah's going to be proud of me. And you go the extra step. In fasting, the same thing. In the fasting, you can just tick off the boxes like the little kid's report card. Or you can do like some extra ticks. And the parent writes on the card, you know what, my son or my daughter also done this as well. And they also done this as well. They also done in front of the class. Right? The kid comes to class and you say, MashaAllah, where's Zain? Zain, stand up. MashaAllah, guess what Zain done this weekend? Zain done this and he done this. And on the Day of Judgment in front of Allah. Yeah, this is my servant did. Yeah, in front of everyone. May Allah accept us. So, make intention at night. It's recommended to make it at night. Like we said, we don't have to make it at night. You can make it from Maghrib and you can make it in the day as well. But it's recommended to make it at night just in case, something happens. Like no one knows. Someone could go unconscious. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen this happen once. There was like an occasion where one of my relatives, they actually were fasted in the day, but they collapsed, right? And they were taken to hospital. And, it was like about an hour left for the fast. So when they got up, the first thing they asked was, what's happened to my fast? That was the first thing they asked, what's happened to my fast? So because they didn't consume anything, Their fast was okay.
Alhamdulillah.
And they were worried about their fast.
Well, having said that, just on that question, I'm thinking if they fell unconscious and an oxygen mask was placed on them, and a question's come in about the asthma pump. The asthma pump has come in as well. So obviously the oxygen mask and the asthma pump is a common question we get in Ramadan.
So that's going to come a bit later.
Is it coming later?
Yeah, that's going to come a bit later.
Then.
But the question over here was because even if they were given food unconsciously, their fast doesn't break.
Because they didn't have
consciously eating.
Yeah, because it's intentionally eating, isn't it?
Intentionally.
Yeah. They didn't. They had it pushed down their throat.
Okay. So to do suhoor, it also. Actually, suhoor is a good thing. Yeah. I mean, you know, some people say this to me. Oh, they say, you know what? Like, I don't get it for suhoor. Is that okay? Is that a bad thing? Right? Because I got to go work in the morning early. Is it okay if I just eat after Taraweeh and go back to sleep? Right? So it's fine. But the Prophet ﷺ said that in suhoor there is barakah. Right? In suhoor there is barakah. In fact, you know what? You know how important suhoor was in Medina? They used to have an adhan for it. Right? They used to have an adhan. Bilal radiallahu anhu used to actually give a specific adhan, and some people sometimes would make a mistake thinking Bilal's adhan was Fajr adhan. So the Prophet ﷺ would tell people that لا يغرنكم adhanu Bilal. Don't let Bilal's adhan mislead you. This is only for those people who get up for tahajjud and for those people who are fasting to tell them the time's about to close. Yeah, so the suhoor has barakah in there. Like, I'm going to tell you this here. In about 150 years time, or 200 years time, some scientist or some crazy training guy is going to come on YouTube and he's going to say, you know what? If you eat just before dawn and you don't eat anything the rest of the day, there's so many benefits. And we're all going to say, Subhanallah, this is what our Prophet was saying all these years. Sometimes it's a bit sad that a non-Muslim who's a celebrity has to say something that supports what Islam says, and then we take it seriously. Then we go, exactly, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, it's such a true point, isn't it?
So, but the Prophet ﷺ is saying, look, there's barakah in the suhoor. End the story. Barakah in the suhoor, khalas. Right?
And if someone is you can wake up, have a glass of water, have a date, and just take that barakah and carry on. You don't have to go down and have two parathas and a pile of eggs, or likewise, went upstairs and have a large meal. Just wake up by your side. We understand a lot of people are working, or maybe working, and it's difficult for them with the early suhoor. So just waking up next to you, having some water and having a date or whatever it may be, a small snack, and then just doing your fajr and moving on.
Yeah, definitely.
But don't miss it.
That's the thing. Try not to miss it. It's very beneficial. And the other thing is, I think for me personally, what suhoor does? Suhoor gives me that energy in the day to be able to do the work I normally do. Right? And if I don't eat suhoor, what happens? I feel sluggish, lethargic. I just feel like, I'm just going to rest.
I think it's psychological as well, because you think to yourself, I didn't have suhoor, I'm down, or I didn't have breakfast today, I got a headache, when you could actually move on. On normal days, you can carry on, but if psychologically we've had something there, our brain and our mind tells us that actually you're okay, you've had something as well.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, 150 years time, watch. That guy's going to come on YouTube.
Well, they've already done the one of Tuesday and Thursday fasting.
What do they call it?
You've seen the guy.
Do they call it 2-5? Is it called the 2-5?
2-5, something like that. I remember when he came on, the doctor came on and he goes, well, I chose Tuesday and Thursday because there's a tradition in Islam, and everyone went crazy over it again. It went viral. But
alhamdulillah. And last, the third recommended act is to break the fast immediately. Like, I remember when I used to go to college, and it was like, I remember in them days, which wasn't that long ago.
It was long ago.
In the 90s. End of the 90s.
The listeners now are going to say, in the 90s. I know. They got the millennials born here.
A little kid, and I was teaching Maktab, and the little kid goes to me, Maulana, were you alive when Firaun was alive?
What did you do to him?
I go, no, just a little bit after him. Just a little bit after him. Because I said, I was born in 1982. For them, 1982 is like 1982 and World War II is like the same thing, really.
I'm more worried why he thought you were born in the era of the Pharaoh.
Exactly. I don't know.
I've got a question on this one. So it's saying opening your fast at Maghrib time straight away is important. What on earth is going on with some timetables? Let's just say we're in Birmingham, in the United Kingdom. You've got iftar going on from, let's say, 8:45, 8:47, 8:48, 8:49. Where does the ihtiyat end? I just used the BBC sunset time now. I was sitting at a mosque once and I saw the sunset on the BBC website. It says sunset at this time. and 6 minutes have passed, and adhan hasn't gone. Everyone's sitting there.
See, that's a good question, guys. See, the issue with regards to the timetables, I personally think with regards to timetable, there needs to be a monitoring system, a national monitoring system, where there needs to be an organization. That's like there's a Huffaz organization and there's a, this organization, that. There needs to be, I think, a monitoring organization that all masajid, they affiliate themselves to. And the reason for this is because any public issue in Islam has always been to do with unity. The idea is to always try to create unity. And like Abdullah ibn Masud radiallahu anhu, one day he was in Mina and he prayed behind, he's in Abu Dawud, he prayed behind Uthman radiallahu anhu. And Uthman was a musafir.
Yeah.
He prays 2 rakats and then he prays 4 rakats, and then Ibn Masud prays 4 rakats as well behind him. And then he finishes and the students say to Abdullah ibn Masud, Ustad, go on, bro. What's happening? Like, you told us in Dars that you're not supposed, Musafir is only prays 2 rakats. He's not supposed to pray 4. And you prayed behind an Imam, Uthman radiallahu anhu, who is Musafir, and he's praying 4. He goes, like, in other words, their idea was, why didn't you pray a separate Jamaat? Like, which many of us would do.
Take your
have a separate Jamaat. So, Ibn Mas'ud was obviously, nurtured by the Prophet ﷺ, the best of creation. So he understood the importance, like the technicalities, the wiring of the Sharia. He understood it inside out. And he said this famous statement. He said, Al-khilafu shar. In matters of public affairs, causing disunity is worse than anything you can imagine. Don't cause disunity. Just get on with it. Just pray. So I think these calendar things, I think a lot of masjids, they don't really know exactly how to make calendar. They don't have anyone particularly trained, right, in these, observing the moon and the timings and all that. And I think all they do is copy each other, right? Some one masjid, big masjid, but they got a timetable, so they must have an expert who's paid, right, expert fees to make them a calendar, and there's all the observations and everything. And I think that's not how it works in most cases. There is a scholar, Shaykh Asim Yusuf, who's actually written a book about 2-3 years ago.
That's Talib al-Habib for the fans of Talib al-Habib.
Yeah, Talib al-Habib.
The Nasheed artist. His name's Dr. Asim
what
Yusuf.
Kind of Nasheed got?
You don't know his Nasheeds? Amantu
billahi.
The ones that you teach to your kids in Maktab.
Okay. So basically, he has written a whole book and he's done lots of research and surveys on this issue. And that is the best book for this.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, if a person doesn't want to follow the calendar or anything is confused, all you have to do is, if you go online, right,
and look at sunset time.
Not just sunset, because the Met Office sunset means when the disk of the sun
touches the horizon,
and we don't break our fast when it touches. It has to dip under the horizon.
Yeah.
Now, see, the issue is when the sun dips under the horizon, whether you're a flat earther, or a round earther, or a cube earther, or an earth doesn't exist. We're living on the back of a turtle, somewhere in an ocean, right? Wherever you believe.
Gosh.
Yeah. So basically, see when the sun dips, like at what level does it dip? Because you can be on a mountain, at 3,000, altitude, and it could dip under the mountain. You can't see it. So people living on the mountain, I think for them it's Maghrib, isn't it?
Yeah.
And for a person who's in a plane, on the earth, for everyone on the earth, on the plane it says local time, Maghrib has started.
Yeah.
Right? I can still see the sun.
Yeah.
How has Maghrib started when I can see the sun from the window and the local people are praying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there has to be, I think, a very rigorous, robust approach of how we can deal with this and resolve it. So I think there is scope for this, there is like flexibility. And if a person, follows a timetable which they think it's valid, inshallah, on the day of judgment, Allah will accept that.
Inshallah. But the idea is on this point is to just not delay your Maghrib beyond need. So if you are running late, if you're in a car, you're getting home, have something there, just open it with some water, open it whatever you have, but don't delay the opening of
and that's the whole thing. So I was saying about when I was in college, I remember once I was coming back and I didn't have anything to eat to break my fast with. I was on the bus. I'm not going to take bus wrapper, the ticket, and just start eating that. So I was everywhere, I was searching. Eventually, in one of my pockets, I found a sweet that I had there. Yeah, in my jack coat pockets, I had a sweet. I don't know from when. Yeah, one of those kind of like roses, or someone gives you and you put in your pocket, and it's kind of squashed up and all that. I said, Khalas, this is going to be. So I took that and I ate that. Yeah. But the idea is, look, you break your fast. Now, you see, in this country, you can't really sense it. But if you go to a Muslim country and everyone breaks the fast at the same time, it's just this amazing sort of like silence that just spreads across the whole.
Yes.
And in Pakistan, the first time I experienced was in Pakistan when I was there was a Maulana they called Maulana Bilal. He was like one of the first Maulanas who kind of got me into madrasa. So he invited me to his house and we were on the roof. So we were sitting down and all of a sudden, like you hear this kind of siren. And I think World War II started again here. And then the one said, no, this is how we break our fast. So you hear the siren first. And in Masjid al-Aqsa, they hear the cannon. Have you seen the cannon?
No.
They
used to have it in Makkah,
cannon.
I remember, in the old days.
In Masjid al-Aqsa still have a cannon.
Yeah. Boom! Subhanallah.
And everyone is like goes quiet. And then the azan starts.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, so the idea is like you feel this, break your fast as soon as possible because acts of worship should always be done ASAP. Every act of worship, do as ASAP. وَعَجِلْتُ إِلَيْكَ رَبِّي لِتَرْضَى. Based on that.
But some people tend to think, I'm just going to do a little bit more. Just to be careful.
Like some people, maybe some people in the kitchen cooking, and then in the living room they're saying, break your fast, and they go, hey, don't worry, I'll break my fast. The idea is break your fast, even if you're cooking, or if whatever you're doing, just break your fast. You're doing wudu as well. Yeah, just break your fast. It shows that you're particular about starting your fast and you're particular about ending your fast as well. This is the idea. It's like it's more about this idea of, you're not eating because your desire wants you to eat. You're eating because it's a command from Allah. Subhanallah. Separating the two. Okay, next. Okay. Google it, guys. Zaldi be. Yeah, narration for the virtue of zuhur. So I want you to Google it quickly. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Me and Molana are going to talk about something else. Yeah. And there's your car outside.
It's the miskin one, isn't it? You probably thought it was.
Allah.
Should we talk about what car you were driving?
I'm looking for something like, top of the range.
We thought the Mercedes was
X8,
yours.
BMW.
We thought the Mercedes was yours. We've got a question in regards to severe migraine sufferers.
Yeah.
That often results in vomiting. You develop a headache a few hours before Maghrib and then you're fairly certain will develop into a migraine. Should you break your fast immediately or wait?
Okay, so I think good question. I think we'll save that.
The migraine and vomiting.
Yeah, for when we come on to the issues regarding people are excused.
Okay. Subhanallah, Mosey, when I would go to my... Yeah, some brothers mentioned it's actually across the whole of Birmingham. It's actually hush on the streets now anyway. But normally, we live Spark Hill, Sparkbrook, Moseley sides. Iftari time, it was like COVID-19, dead on the roads. You could see that it was. Many of us have seen in the Muslim areas when it's iftar time, the traffic has totally gone down and it's totally quiet because of the blessings and the barakah of that time of opening the fast. Alhamdulillah.
So has anyone come out with a...
Yeah, so but brothers mentioned that he goes, Jannah Seeker, he's mentioned it, he goes, subhanAllah, mostly when I would go to my parents' house, iftar time, the whole area would be hush and quiet. Yeah. Well, now it's hush and quiet anyway, so.
Yeah, no. Make the most of it, guys. Make the most of this.
Take advantage of it. Shalom.
People are going to remember these days, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
when you grow up, you're going to be remembering these days. You remember that time in 2 months we were like locked
remember
away.
In 2020 when this historical event happened.
And people have pictures of quiet roads, pictures of...
Subhanallah.
Okay, so let's go to the next one then.
Yep.
Right, the makruh. Now, there are certain things when you are fasting. Do we give a break? What do we do?
Not yet. What time is it? 1:06? Should we stop in about 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think
we'll stop in about... what time does the Dhuhr start? So we've still got about...
20 past 1.
Yeah, we'll stop in about 10 minutes, inshallah. We'll give them a quick break for Dhuhr.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back.
Yeah, that's fine.
Inshallah. So if you do the makruh then.
Okay, so basically when you're fasting, the thing you have to remember is there are certain things which are like, borderline issues, right? And the Prophet ﷺ, he said a very clear statement. He said, halal is known, haram is known. And between the two, there is this kind of grey area. Yeah? Mutashabihat. And he says, stay away from this. right? In Islam, if you know what's halal, do that. If you know what's haram, stay away from it. And the grey area, try to stay away from it as much as possible. Because he gave an example, he said, if a shepherd takes sheep and he knows which ground is allowed for him to take the sheep to, and he knows which ground is not, but there's a grey area in between. If he takes the sheep there, how do sheep behave? Yeah, eating, and eventually they'll end up in the haram. So it's like, to stop the thing from happening, right? There's certain measures you should take from before. In fact, many of the early scholars, like Umar radiallahu anhu used to say, on many occasions, I stay away from 90% of things that are jaiz just so that I don't fall into something impermissible.
Yeah.
So sometimes what happens is, like I said, if we follow the rules of Islam, like a tick box method, what tends to happen is we kind of say, but you know what? If I don't do this, if I travel less than 48 miles, 47.9 miles, I'm okay. Yeah. Or if I take this other route, which is 48.1 miles, I don't have to fast. These kind of like. So I think that mentality isn't the idea of what Islam came with, right? And this goes into the issue of the ashab as-sabt, right? Which they kind of said, well, Allah has said don't fast, don't work on a Saturday, but if I just dig a hole on a Saturday and let the fish come in themselves, well, and Sunday I pick it up. So you see, it's like you're messing with, Allah knows your intentions, you're messing with Allah's law here. So there are certain things which are considered to be makruh acts. So what are they? Chewing gum. Now gum, when they say gum, they don't mean like chewing gum. I want to clarify this, because if you read in some of the books when they say gum, they don't mean bubble gum, extra,
Wrigley's.
They don't mean that. What they mean is, in the olden days, they used to have this kind of like this chewy kind of like a part of a tree, right? And they used to kind of just chew on it.
Like a sap.
Like a sap, yeah. And it wouldn't release anything into the mouth. There wouldn't be any sort of like resin or excretion from it. It was just like a piece of sort of like non-soluble sort of object that was just chewed. It was just like a habit people had. Sometimes people chew maybe some leaves or something, or a twig. Like a twig. They just chew on a twig and spit it out.
Yeah, at this point, they put the lid of a pen in their mouth.
Lid of a pen. So these kind of things should be avoided. As in, because these kind of things, you're supposed to be conscious about what you're putting in your mouth. Yeah. So gum, not chewing gum, but gum, that kind of, and rubber, plastic, etc. All these kind of things should be avoided, right? Okay. The issue of then comes the question with regards to gargling water. Now we're going to come across, before anyone asks in there, which they are going to ask, can we brush our teeth? Yeah, that's going to come inshallah. Let Mulana answer. Mulana can answer that one. Yeah. So the brushing the teeth will come inshallah, and we're going to answer that properly. Gargling water. Now look, according to Hanafis, right, I need to explain a little fiqh, like a bit detail here, right? And that is this: everyone agrees that if a person deliberately eats something in Ramadan, their fast breaks.
Yeah.
Everyone generally agrees, right? Most scholars agree that if you if you forgetfully eat something, what does forgetfully mean? Like you go into the fridge, you open the fridge, you forgot totally you're fasting. Yeah? It's like, like in COVID, you forget it's Jummah. You forget Friday. Yeah. So my mum was like saying to my brother, I hope you're going to pray today. And I said, what? Why? It's Friday, isn't it? I go, no, it's Thursday. She goes, oh, okay, it's okay then. It's okay. Mums are like that. Friday you must pray, but the other namazes, it's only for people who
for you.
So anyway, you forgot you're fasting. You go to the fridge, you open the fridge, and then you like eat something. Oh, fasting. So that kind of forgetfulness, your fast won't break, right? But what about accidental? Accidental means this: you're fasting, but you put something in your mouth and it accidentally drops down your throat. So the Hanafis say your fast will break. The other madhabs say your fast will not break. They treat it as forgetfulness. Okay, that's where a lot of confusion comes when people read things online, and some Shaykh might say, "Oh, it's okay if you brush your teeth or something and something goes down your throat. It's okay, it's accidental. Your fast will break." And then they read somewhere else and says, "Mufti so and so said, no, your fast actually breaks." Yeah. So how does this work? It's a valid difference of opinion, because we have nothing from the Prophet ﷺ explicitly to say it breaks or it doesn't break. It's like an ijtihadi issue.
Yeah.
So this is why gargling, the Hanafis say, do not gargle water, even if you're like a gymnast in gargling. And you're like, you're, you're like Uncle Ghulam, yeah? Who can do those nose garglings and mouth garglings and from far away and from his car he can do gargling. That kind of gargling skill like the person.
A lot of people are not going to get these jokes, are they?
Don't worry, you're going to get them later, yeah? And you're going to say, remember he said this? Oh yeah, it makes sense now. So you don't gargle, yeah? So basically what you do is just pour water in your mouth, swish it around, spit it out.
Yeah, just rinse your mouth then,
Just rinse your mouth out, that's it. Don't attempt to gargle water at all, right? Don't use vulgar words. Using vulgar, and what did we say? Because we said in the Quran, fasting seems to be associated also to controlling your tongue as well.
Yeah.
So vulgar words, even though some may argue, look, vulgar words, you're not really intending the proper meaning of what you're saying. But it's the idea of, look, you're supposed to be a bit more pious in this month, isn't it? You're supposed to be representing Islam, Allah's law, Allah's morals, and Allah's system. So if you're going to be using F's and B's and this and that, it doesn't really look nice, right? And personally, I think people should cut down on, even when they're WhatsApping. So even if you're not saying it on your tongue, but you're used to saying things like WTF or things like that, it just doesn't look nice.
Yeah.
You see someone who is like, upright person, go to the masjid and they got these kind of like, LMOAF, I don't know, ROL, whatever they put. Yeah, and you know what that F means there, right? But they don't intend that, but it just doesn't come across nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and personally, I wouldn't like to say these kind of things in public myself. Okay.
Just to clarify then, so the gargling, what if it's the fard ghusl?
No, you don't. For the ghusl, no. Hanafi say no, don't do it.
So even in the obligatory bath that
The
someone
drops,
has to,
yeah.
So they'll just rinse again?
Just rinse.
Okay. So for the viewers, I generally tend to advise people when rinsing your mouth is maybe just put your head facing forward, put water in your mouth, and without putting your head back, just and let it go back into the sink rather than you.
That was an excellent.
rather than
action there.
Yeah, rather than putting it back, because a lot of people will just put it in their mouth
no,
and sit and
that's
have a
right.
straight face. So just to make sure it doesn't get to the back of your throat where it can go down your throat.
Yeah.
It's just to keep your face forward facing and
Excellent. Backbiting, do not backbite. Backbiting is haram, it's absolutely haram, right? And backbiting in Ramadan is something which is like double haram. And the reason I say it's double haram is because number one, it's haram, and then backbiting is associated to eating the flesh of your brother. So it's like you're not supposed to physically eat something, so spiritually eating something. In fact, there's a narration where the Prophet ﷺ, he told two women off because they were backbiting, and he said your fast is broken. Even though the majority of scholars say he didn't here mean that literally your fast is broken. This was they committed an offense, right, in the month of Ramadan, and to make an example of them, the Prophet told everyone, look, fast is broken. So this is why, backbiting is something totally wrong. And finally, complaining of hunger. And let me tell you, complaining of hunger is like 10 steps, okay? There's 10 levels of complaining, right? You get like that one guy who just says, that's probably the lowest level of complaining of hunger, yeah? Yeah, so, that's okay. The highest level is, I'm fed up of this fasting, I'm just tired of it, I'm sick of it, I've got to wake up at this time and 18 hours and it's just so much, and right now they might not intend anything like bad, but it's just if you're non-Muslim friends sitting there thinking, why do you fast for? If it's so much, why do you fast for? Like, isn't your religion supposed to be something that you enjoy? So as a Muslim, this is a general rule the Quran lays down. You don't have to like everything in Islam. Yes? Allah says in the Quran, Asa an takrahu shay'an wa huwa khairul lakum. Maybe you dislike something and it's good for you. In other words, you don't have to like getting up Fajr in the morning. You don't have to like doing tawaf where the mataf is like filled with people and you can't breathe and you're spinning around. Yeah. Happened to me that it was so packed out, and I've got sinus problems. I couldn't breathe, and then I got stuck in this kind of like this current, and I was like literally spinning body, and this like Egyptian guy was pushing me here, and a Nigerian guy was pushing me there, and like this Indonesian group was like, and I was like stuck like this. I just went to the side and I just went to the top, and I did the whole like massive thing. But so not liking something in Islam is not a sin, right? Allah will not hold us for that. But complaining about something perpetually, continuously, non-stop, that's a bad habit. That's something which the scholars say is disliked in Islam. So we shouldn't be outwardly, publicly complaining about aspects of our faith. Rather, we should, if you need to complain, that's fine. but we don't make it perpetual, and that's what I would say. That's like the worst. After the 10 steps, that's the worst one. Okay, shall we?
Yeah, we'll end on that. Let's see if we've got any comments on here that we want to take. It's just, well, as we've been talking about sin, we've had a question about if you miss your salah, is your fast valid?
If you miss your salah, okay, so another important rule to remember.
So this is quite the unfortunate fact that a lot of people, alhamdulillah, the fact that they fast in Ramadan is a big thing as well. We're not saying that it isn't good, but a lot of people do fast in the month of Ramadan and they may not pray salah, and someone's asked that question.
So, I mean, the thing to remember here is, in Islam, there is no two acts of worship that are contingent. In Islam, no two acts of worship are contingent. Like salat is not contingent, it's not necessary. It's not
connected. The acceptance is not connected to the next item.
It's not a prerequisite, basically.
Yeah.
It's not required for zakat, which is not required for fasting, which is not required for hajj. Each act of worship is an independent act of worship. So when we kind of sometimes think to ourselves, you know what, I have never been hajj before, so I'm not going to fast. Yeah. Or you know what, I've never prayed my Jummah or my Salah. I didn't get up for Fajr, so I'm not going to fast. Yeah. Or I'm in an impure state even. I'm not going to fast. Even impure state has nothing to do with fasting. Yeah, and that's going to come a bit later as well.
Yeah, so alhamdulillah, take them all as an individual. Somebody can pray their salah, alhamdulillah. Someone can fast, alhamdulillah. If someone can go for hajj, alhamdulillah. A lot of people just go for hajj and sometimes they don't pray, sometimes they...
And the other thing I would say is, sometimes when women can't fast because of their menstruation, or because elderly people, or someone who's ill, medically they can't fast. That doesn't mean you can't benefit from Ramadan. Yeah, you can read Quran, you can read the translation of the Quran, you can watch us. Yeah, watch this again. Or you can do all these acts of worship, dhikr of Allah, read stories of of inspiration stories, all these kind of things you can do, and they would all count as, because remember in Ramadan the Prophet ﷺ said that kullu amal ibn Adam, every action of Ibn Adam in the month of Ramadan is multiplied. Yeah, every action is multiplied in Ramadan. So therefore, we should try to benefit from that.
That's fine. So what we'll do now is we're going to go for the Dhuhr break, and if somebody wants to grab their lunch,
what time is it? Are we returning?
We're going to return back at, it's 20 past, so we'll return back at what time? What do we say, half an hour? That's going to be 10 to... We'll do half an hour. So we're going to be back on... so listeners and the viewers will be back on in half an hour, inshallah. You got a chance to do your dhuhr. And if you want to grab some food, inshallah. Mufti Sahib needs to probably grab some food as well. Because he's such a lightweight and I don't want him getting lost in the tawaf again, For you getting lost, for a push... For a Pathan and a push...
You know what? When I got stuck in that and I was just thinking, look who I've got stuck between. This massive Egyptian guy. Yeah. Tall, Nigerian guy, and then on this side was the Indonesian whole group, because the Indonesian group, once they put their block for their women, it's like you can't get through. You can't get out of them. You've been that one.
Yeah. It's mad. Inshallah. So we'll see you hopefully, inshallah, at 10 to 2, inshallah, in 30 minutes. Jazakumullah khairan. Wa ahsan al-jazaa.
So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So the next thing that we're going to be talking about, Maulana, is the invalidators of salat. Not salat. Invalidators of fasting. Yeah. So invalidators of fasting. What kind of things will invalidate our fast? So first of all, look. Think of it this way. It's very easy to understand. Is if a person does any of those three things forgetfully, right? He forgets that it's Ramadan, he forgets that it's a fast, and he does one of the three things. What are the three things? Eating, drinking, intimacy. Yeah, he does any of these three forgetfully, his fast does not break. So that's like a general rule, that is. Besides that, anything that you eat, drink, or intimacy will break your fast. Yeah, so that's a straightforward rule. Now, on top of this, if you commit an offense, an extra offense, then you have to give compensation. It's called kafara. So that's why when we discuss the breaking of fast, we discuss it in two parts. We say there is only qada, right? So when you break your fast without an offense, you only have to make up one fast.
Yeah.
So let's say on the 10th of Ramadan, I broke my fast. I accidentally swallowed water. Yeah. I only have to make up one fast after Ramadan. But if I commit an offense, then I have to do kafara. Now, what is an offense? That's the question, isn't it? Offense is any person who deliberately eats, drinks, has intimacy in such a way that the thing that they eat is nourishing the body or it's used for medicinal purposes. That will not only break your fast, but also necessitates kafara as well. Okay, so this is where it's like you're committing an offense. Like God Almighty Allah commands us to fast, and you're kind of saying, well, I don't care. You're eating the food, and you're drinking something. So this is where when we discuss this issue of kafara, this is why we're saying it's an offense. But if there's no offense involved, and when there's no offense involved? When it's something which does not nourish the body, or it's not taken as medicine, right? Then it's okay, right? And when we talk about intimacy, I know kids are gonna be watching this, yeah. So you guys know what intimacy is penetration, basically, right? It has to be penetration. Any other form of intimacy that does not result in penetration will either break the fast or it won't break the fast. There's no kafara involved. There's no compensation involved. Yeah. So let's look at some scenarios then. So for example, let's say Zainab goes to the fridge. She's fasting, and she opens the fridge and she takes out an apple. She gets a knife and she cuts the apple, and she's reading her text. She's eating the apple, right? Does her fast break? Does she have to give kafara?
No.
Why?
Because she's done it unintentionally.
How do you know that?
Because she's cutting the apple and she's just looking through a text and she's eating it and she's not really she's fasting.
So if, for example, if she did it forgetfully,
Yeah.
she forgot she was fasting, then her fast is intact.
Yeah.
If she done it accidentally, meaning, this couldn't be accidentally, because obviously accidentally is when you know you're fasting, but accidentally goes down your throat. So this wouldn't be accident. So it's either going to be forgetful, but if she's doing it deliberately, as in she's eating the apple, right, deliberately, then her fast not only breaks, but she's committed an offense because she's deliberately gone against Allah's command. Yeah, so she has to give kafara. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What other example could there be?
That's an intentional one would be someone. So obviously this is talking about someone's actually started the fast, they've made an intention to fast, and then after that they've gone out and said, I can't take this no more. Not out of a shari'i reason, just said I can't take it. Mom forced me, dad forced me, and they
And
have
some
something.
water.
They drink some water. They have something to eat. That's an
Offense.
intentional offense.
Offense.
And to be frank, a lot of me and yourselves probably get the same question is between the intimacy between a husband and wife as well. For young people, it can be a challenge for etc. So where intentionally these things happen, and in those scenarios where then the kafara comes in. And are you going to explain that later? The kafara.
Yeah, kafara is going to come in a bit.
And
Is there any questions? Come on.
any questions in that? Yes, we can hear. No, they haven't come up. Anything's
No
come up.
questions yet.
We'll see if something pops up later on.
Okay, so now, obviously, now the issue, remember what I said to you, anything you consume. So when it comes to intimacy, it's only a specific scenario in intimacy where penetration occurs. If no penetration occurs, like for example, if a husband and wife, for example, were to kiss each other, as long as no fluids are exchanged, or anything of that sort, it doesn't break fast. So long as it doesn't lead to an orgasm.
Yeah.
In that case, the fast will break, but there won't be any kafara because the offense has not been committed at the highest level.
Yeah.
It's like what they call like a partial offense.
Yeah.
So there's no kafara, it's only qada, right? So the only time in like a sexual activity where kafara would be necessary if penetration occurs.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as for eating and drinking, if a person eats something due to a medical reason, like they're feeling extremely weak or they're feeling extremely ill, and they need to take the tablets, then in that case there's no kafara.
Yeah.
Right? Fast will break, but because they haven't really consumed something to nourish their body.
Yeah.
As in, it's not there for intention nourishing the body. It's just to kind of save their health.
Yeah.
Right? So to save your health, no kafara. It's like kafara is only when you do something and you did it in a wrong way, basically. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at some scenarios of this. Okay, you wanna?
Sorry.
Okay, so rule for invalidating. So anything which is perceptible, this is the key word, okay, that you need to remember. It has to be something that's perceptible. So how would you define something non-perceptible? So something that's non-perceptible is, for example, like Vicks, right? You put some Vicks on your chest or something,
Yeah.
and you can smell the strong smell of Vicks,
Yeah.
right? That's not perceptible. Like it's got no body to it.
Yeah.
It's just vapor.
Yeah.
So vapor does not break your. If it's water vapor,
Yeah. Steam.
steam,
Yeah.
and you deliberately,
Inhale.
you went to and you deliberately inhale, like you're inhaling or you're breathing in, right, the steam, that would break your fast.
Yeah.
Because the Hanafis say that anything that goes beyond your throat goes into the cavity,
Yeah.
which breaks your fast. So if it's first-hand, deliberate
Yeah.
inhaling smoke, cigarette smoking,
Yeah.
or even an asthma inhaler.
Yeah.
Now I know there's various types of asthma inhalers. I mean, if Mutahhir was here, we could have asked him different types. So from what I understand, asthma inhalers generally are based upon some sort of a gaseous, sort of like a substance that is inhaled.
That's right.
Right? And so it has particles to it. And so that's why this is considered to be deliberately breathing something in. So the Hanafis, like in the past, discussed this idea of if you're standing on a fire and smoke goes into your lungs, into your cavity, it's okay. But if you breathe it in, like you deliberately inhale it in, your fast breaks. So the same concept over here applies as well. Now some people asked me, I remember yesterday someone asked me this question and said that, when it comes to like inhaling, like, can't we take the opinion of those scholars who say that asthma inhalers don't break your fast because they don't really go into the stomach. It kind of just goes into the lungs. So this issue, I mean, if you want to be really technical, this issue kind of goes into the whole concept of how far can we go back and revise the early definitions of the experts? To what level do we go back to? Because we don't have anything from the Prophet ﷺ to define exactly what it means to eat. Like, does eating mean you chew it? Does eating mean you swallow it? Does eating mean it goes down your throat? Does eating mean it gets into your stomach? Does eating mean it goes into your lungs? We don't have anything. So the scholars in their days tried to define this, and that's why there is a valid ikhtilaf amongst people who say regarding the inhalers don't break your fast. But that's an opinion which is not an opinion I subscribe to, and I know some scholars do take that opinion. But I would say, look, in the Quran, Allah has clearly said that someone who is ill, they don't have to fast. And this is a very important point, Mona, which is when a person is ill and Allah has given them dispensation, a person should think to themselves as an ill person gets the same reward as a person who's fasting. So a person who's ill and doesn't fast, they technically are obeying Allah, aren't they? So if you're obeying Allah whilst you're not fasting, and someone who is obeying Allah whilst he is fasting, they're equal.
Yeah.
And the Prophet ﷺ has said to Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he was ill, and the Prophet said, you can't go for battle, you got to stay back, and he got upset. And the Prophet said, you're going to get the same reward as everyone who goes for battle, and maybe Allah will benefit people by you staying here, and that we can't benefit. So this is why it's important for especially our ill sort of like brothers and sisters, our elderly and others. If Allah has given us a sort of like a situation where our health is deteriorating and we need to take medicine, and we need to take priority of our health over acts of worship. And we're not saying that we're leaving the act of worship. No, we're doing something as substitute, right? So some people, like elderly people, like my grandma, for example, has to take like a whole tub of medicines throughout the day, tablets, and she misses fasting, right? She's upset about fasting, and she says that I wish she could fast. But the thing we have to remember is that, when it comes to these kind of things, we always have to remember long-term benefit of your body, health of your body is more important. Like, for example, short-term, let's say a person who's got diabetes says, I'm going to risk it. I don't care. I'm going to shaheed. I'm being the sake of Allah. I'll be a shaheed. Right? That's fine. You want to be a shaheed. But then what's going to happen is that this is going to have impact on the rest of your year. Just because of Ramadan. Now for the rest of the year, your health is going to deteriorate so badly that you won't be able to pray salat properly. You might have to end up in hospital so many days. Is it worth it? So that's why Allah in the Quran says a beautiful ayah. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah never burdens a person when it comes to legislation, right? Except to his capacity. What does this mean? Like some people want to misquote this verse. They use this verse in life. Say, like someone's going through a problem and says to them, "Oh, don't worry, Allah does not burden a person more than the soul can bear." And they use it for people in depression, and they use it for, this is totally wrong. It's not for that. This ayah is specifically for legislation of Allah. As in, Allah has designed the law for mankind in such a way that it does not put an ill person into trouble, doesn't get them into going through trouble. It doesn't put someone who is breastfeeding into trouble, someone who is pregnant, Allah's law is just perfect, but perfectly balanced for entire society. And so everything in society, so an ill person, when it comes to Ramadan, doesn't have to fast. There was many Sahaba, in fact, that never used to fast in Ramadan. Couldn't.
Yeah.
Medical reasons. Allah sent the verse to Sahaba. Yeah. And so we have to take benefit from this. And we sometimes, what I say is this, is that look, we should become role models for people. And if we are ill, don't fast. Show other people, look, I'm not fasting because I'm ill. Right? Because I know there's so many Maulanas out there that can't fast.
Yeah.
One Maulana I know very, very well. I was surprised, last year or 2 years ago. He contacted me and he said to me, "I want to ask you a question." And this guy is extremely knowledgeable, much knowledgeable than me. But he said, "I want to ask you a question." He goes, "I've got this problem, a medical issue, and the doctors are saying to me not to fast. What do you say to?" And I said, "Maulana, you are more knowledgeable than me. What are you asking me for?" He goes, "No." He goes, "I just want to know that on the Day of Judgment, at least I've asked someone."
SubhanAllah.
Because at least I've asked someone. And I said, "Look, Maulana, you know the masala. The masala is that if you're ill, your health is more important to you." And this guy's a big Mufti. And he said, "Jazakallah khair." So this is what we have to remember, that, by us not fasting, it doesn't mean we're gonna kind of like lose our status in the eyes of Allah. In fact, we will gain a status in the eyes of Allah. I think, Maulana, a lot of the time when we want to kind of like override Allah's law, like Allah has given us like a dispensation, and we want to override Allah's law. You know why it is? It's that feeling. You see, there's a difference between feeling Islam and living Islam.
Yeah.
Feeling Islam and living Islam. Like we say in Taraweeh, we enjoy Taraweeh, that feeling. Do we really enjoy Taraweeh because it's Taraweeh, like you said earlier on? Or is it that feeling that we get? That fasting, is it the feeling we're after? Because, let me tell you, whoever worships feeling will come and go.
Yeah.
And whoever worships Allah, Allah will never go. Yeah, and this is, I think, what happens to a lot of people. They feel sad they can't go to the masjid. They feel sad. Maybe it's really because they can't go to the masjid, but some of them maybe it's because they don't get that buzz. Christians get a buzz in their religion.
That's right.
Buddhists get a buzz in their religion. Hindus get a buzz in their religion. That buzz feeling that you get, this is why Islam is just so beautiful when I think about it. It's not after that Nare Takbir.
Yeah.
It's after practicality. So this is why when people take inhalers, I think, look, if you have to take your inhaler, take it, break your fast. You will not be sinful at all, and carry on your day. And just make up your fast later on.
Coming on to that question, there was a brother that says his migraines lead to him vomiting.
Yeah.
Would I be correct to say then that the person should begin the fast, because you can't really predict a migraine coming or will you vomit, but to begin your fast, and if it gets to the stage where you can't take the pain, because migraines are a severe headache, and it will lead to you vomiting, and then certain amounts of vomiting may break the fast.
Yeah.
Then at that scenario, don't wait for yourself.
Sorry, where's Mutahhir? No, call him. He's a good doctor to ask.
Doctor's question.
And the reason I'm saying call him, because like me and you might be talking like from a very utopian position.
Yeah.
And there might be a whole array of migraines we don't know about.
Yeah.
And some doctors might say to you, you shouldn't even start fasting.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That's right.
Like I know my grandma, one of the reasons she can't fast is because she needs to eat a certain amount in the day to take those tablets.
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe there's a migraine out there and the doctors say you're not supposed to fast at all. Don't even risk fasting. Eat. Because that tablets will only work when you eat with a full stomach.
Yeah. And this comes back to the intention, isn't it? Allah grants us the reward. I don't know whether this is just an Asian thing, but in particular in our elders, it's really hard for them to understand the concept that the reward is in your obedience and ita'ah.
Yeah.
It's not in actually you doing the action. And I see this so many times when we go for Hajj and Umrah, and the sisters are unable to do Umrah or they're unable to do their Tawaf. And then you'll meet a sister and she's crying and you go, what happened? And you go, oh, my menstruation started and I can't go for Tawaf. And I'm like, well, why are you crying for? It's nothing to cry about. Allah has blessed you with the same reward as everything else. Our test or what's being asked from us at that time is to listen to what Allah has told us,
Yeah.
and in that is our
Excellent.
reward, inshallah.
Excellent point.
Dr. Mutahir, we had a question about migraines. Do you want to come over here quickly?
Come on, close.
Just come into the picture. You want to grab the chair? Just move down a little bit. The questions come in about
COVID-19.
Oh yeah.
COVID-19 salams, yeah. It's the new COVID-19 emoji.
The questions come in about someone who gets migraines, and those severe migraines lead to vomiting, and whether they should fast. So I said maybe they can wait and see what happens during the day, and if he does feel like vomiting, or would the medical, Mufti rightly said that you probably need to ask a doctor and seek what they...
Yeah, so migraines vary. They can last from a few minutes to a few hours to a few days. So if they don't take some medication to prevent it lasting that long, so they might need to take some medication to stop it from lasting 3 days maybe. So it depends on each individual. So some people have different types of migraines. Some people might have just a headache. Some people might need to lie down. They might have other symptoms from the migraines, like weakness in their arms or legs. So if they have that type of severe migraines, then yeah, it's probably advisable that they don't fast and take medication.
Okay, so what about this then? Would you advise, let's say a person comes to you now and says to you, Shaykh, doctor, half Shaykh, yeah, I get headaches here. I get headaches in Ramadan. What do you advise me to do? What would you tell a person?
I have migraines.
So I'd ask them a bit more about the migraines. How do they normally cope with the migraines? Do they need to take medication straight away, or can they carry on with their work or whatever they need to do without taking any medication? So I'd base it on that. So you need to make like a clinical assessment. If after
So
that,
there's no brush ruling.
no, there's no there's no blanket statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some of us might have headaches every day when we wake up, and they just go. But other people might need to take medication to control that. So it just varies on the individual.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important to have a doctor, because I think a lot of people, what they might assume is they're gonna risk it. Let's just go for it. Let's just gamble and see how the day goes. And what I'm thinking is some people, they might like take that kind of, in the past some scholars, some Sahaba must have, it's better to become shaheed and get a headache than to save your health. So what I'm saying is that what kind of a balanced, so I understand what you're saying. You're saying that if someone comes to you, assess them. But would you advise someone who, for instance, like, do you want to go closer?
We're trying to do some social distancing, so tough luck, listeners.
We follow the British law.
We're not getting. There's definitely like 75, 80 centimeters.
I'm sure at 5 o'clock when they have that kind of daily sort of breakdown.
No, they don't. They're really they're far away. The podiums are
camera.
like 2 meters apart.
So if there's a person, for example, like if there's a person who is in a situation where that if you tell them that, look, don't fast in the daytime, to see what is your situation, and they break your fast, would you say to that person, knowing that this guy or she will deliberately try to fast because they feel bad of not fasting? Does that make sense?
So
For example, Zainab. So Zainab, for example, she's a very, very practicing person, and she always tries to do the extra mile. And you've told her, like, just assess yourself, and in the day, if you feel a headache, then you can break your fast. A migraine, you can break your fast. So let's say, for example, like, that kind of a person, would you say to them, look, break your fast earlier than that? Or how do you think that the viewers should understand this?
The problem is most people will generally try to go as far as they can before they need to break their fast. That's just a general statement. Whatever we advise them or not, they will do as much as they can, or go as far as they can before they break their fast.
Okay.
Just from human nature.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we just give medical advice.
Yeah.
So we don't want the worst outcome. So we'll try and say, look, if this is going to be a situation where you're going to end up in a worst case scenario.
And is that possible?
It could, yeah, absolutely. We wouldn't give that advice unless there wasn't that possibility of that happening. So our clinical judgment would be, break your fast.
Yeah. I think in a nutshell, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. It's very important that if the viewers out there and Muslims have any medical issues, is that they actually, their first point of contact is their doctor first, and to, they can see the records, they can see the situation, they can give someone medical advice, and then take that medical advice to your local imams or to the Mufti, and then they may be able to add something on to that. Mufti, we've got a question about injections. Sister Shayma's asked a question about injections.
Yeah, okay, so when it comes to injections, the thing to remember, I think you should stay unless you're on lockdown. So I think, look, because I think it's important, these kind of questions are going to come now, are going to mostly be medical related, right? So injections, all right, so from what I understand, from my ijtihad as being a half medic, from all the YouTube videos I've watched and the doctors I've sat around with, so my understanding is there's only two types of injection that you have, either in your muscle or intravenous to your veins, yeah? There's no other type of injection?
No, not really, no.
Okay, so technically based on that, the Hanafis, they say that any injection that's done not in the normal orifices, so here, the normal orifices are three: your mouth, your nose, and your private parts. So anything that's inserted inside of that, any sort of medications put inside of that, will break your fast. So if a woman has some medication put inside her private parts, and that's another thing, when a woman gets when they have the a checkup, what is it called?
The smear test.
Smear test, okay, yeah.
So what does that exactly involve?
So smears involve looking inside the private parts. So it would involve inserting an instrument into the private parts.
Okay.
But not a liquid or any substance.
There will be a gel. So a gel is applied to the apparatus or the equipment that is used when it's inserted.
So that's what I'm thinking. So would that how far would that go inside then? Would it go up to the cervix?
Yes, it has to go to the cervix. The smear involves getting information from the cervix. So it would involve that.
So see, many of the scholars consider that to break a fast. Yeah, so because there is some sort of ointment that's going inside.
So go back to the question about injection then. So
muscle injection.
So a lot of people would be talking about probably diabetic injections, vaccinations, Saudi injections.
That wouldn't break fast.
That's because that's going into the muscle.
Because it's not going through the mouth, the nose, and the private parts.
But it's not. But what about the intravenous ones, which are going into
intravenous ones? Is the ikhtilaf, right? The difference of opinion among scholars. My teachers had a split opinion. Some of my teachers said it doesn't break your fast at all, because they go according to the text of the fiqh. And others said no, the spirit of the fiqh is saying, look, you should break your fast, especially if someone's going to abuse that and going to inject themselves some glucose or something.
It does.
Yeah, so that would obviously go against the whole concept of fasting. So this is why what I would say regarding this is that if a person is in a situation, it all depends again. Why would they need an intravenous injection for? Like, what are the possible reasons?
So, like a diabetic, they might take insulin.
They take it through it?
Yeah, so they might have an inject. Is it intramuscular or intravenous?
Intravenous.
Oh, intravenous. That wouldn't be done in like the home scenario. It would only be done in a hospital situation.
And so, what kind of reasons would a person need this?
So, if someone's dehydrated and they end up in hospital and they need saline.
So I would say in that situation, that would break fast.
Yeah. And that would break, but that's a medical reason
like
as well.
Having to drink some water or something.
Yeah.
What other situation would there be?
So if someone had a major accident, they may need saline, just because there'll be like a bit of volume depletion.
Yeah.
So
blood transfusions?
Blood transfusion.
So again, blood transfusion as well.
Again, blood transfusion might be sort of like, you possibly able to take the opinion that it doesn't break fast, because it's blood transfusion don't nourish the body, do they?
Would you say, it's giving you blood?
Yeah. In terms of providing oxygen and things like that, because there's a lack of blood.
So what's the difference between nourishing the blood and providing blood? So when you provide blood, aren't you just filling up the blood? So the blood's low, so you're filling it up.
Yeah. Same with the saline. Saline would fill that system. Essentially, if you think of it as like a water system, like a radiator in your house.
Okay.
When the water's low, just because you're putting in blood or you're putting in saline, it's still filling that system.
Yeah, so then that might be something that would. Well, so what about blood? Transfusion or blood when you're donating blood.
So are you giving or are you taking?
Giving.
Giving, you just
That's fine.
giving
So
birth.
that wouldn't then.
That's like having
No.
a cut, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that wouldn't then.
That's coming up, not in.
Okay, what
So-
about for people who have, for when they have to have their, what's that?
Dialysis.
Dialysis.
So dialysis, yeah, you're giving nourishment definitely because it's got a lot
Yeah.
of electrolytes and things in there which the body needs. You're
And that
getting-
clearly
you're
would
getting-
weaken
Somebody
the
on
body.
dialysis, you really shouldn't be fasting.
Yeah,
You know,
fasting.
it goes back to when you got such serious issues. If you're a diabetic and you are, is it type 2, type 1?
That's type 1.
Type 1 diabetics need to be really careful in particular. And then people who are on dialysis and such severe or such, what would you call them?
regimes where they have,
Yeah, then they should be seeking
Yeah.
medical advice and maybe not even fasting in those scenarios. So Sister Shema asked that question. So it wouldn't break your fast. The vast majority of injections, which are they called the
intramuscular.
intramuscular
So that's
ones,
like
which
the
are
vitamin B12 and things like that.
I think with that as well is like, nicotine patches.
yeah.
So that wouldn't break your fast as well. Or if someone was to take, like, I think some women, they take, contraceptive gels
Yeah.
on their skin, or contraceptive patches.
Yeah.
There was a question on
Because they have to have it
hormonal-
on it for a certain number of
Yeah.
days.
What was the question?
Yeah, you
How does that work?
It's just a chemical which slowly goes into the skin
Absorbed,
and gets
yeah.
absorbed. Yeah, I mean there are painkillers as well that you can have patches.
Yeah. So these kind of things wouldn't break the fasting.
Yeah, we had one question come in by text. It was about a hormonal. I don't know if it was an injection or a patch. Omar, can you pull that up? Going back onto here whilst we bring that question up.
So, okay, the other common one is ear drops that people ask. Eye drops, ear
Yeah,
drops.
yeah.
So, according to Fuqaha, these do not break the fast. Classical Hanafis used to say ear drops break the fast because they assumed there was like a channel.
Going to the
Yeah.
throat.
So the later Hanafis have said, based on modern medicine, they've understood that there is no
Connection.
unless a person has a torn.
If there's a perforation,
Yeah.
the ear is connected to the throat by a eustachian tube.
Okay.
There's possibly, it could get absorbed through the eardrum or such,
Yeah.
and get into the eustachian tube.
Okay. Here's the question.
Yeah.
Does using a hormone replacement therapy patch break the fast?
So Mufti just answered that.
So is it just by placing on the skin?
Hormone replacement patch, yeah. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't break your fast.
Yeah.
Yes, any form of patch that you put on yourself is because it's not literally
Same with
entering
like
the blood.
creams that absorb into the skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would. And anything put into the eyes would not break the fast, even if you taste it in your throat.
So surma, Optrex,
Yeah.
Kuhul, what else? Ear drops, olive oil in the ear.
Antibiotic drops.
Nasal sprays, however, would
Yeah.
break your fast.
Because that's, so mouth, nose.
So those of us, I'm a hay fever sufferer,
Yeah.
and Ramadan's coming now, and summer's
okay,
coming.
yeah.
So if you're using the nasal sprays, you need to do it before suhoor.
Is there like an alternative that they can use?
They don't have to have medications at that night time, isn't it?
Yeah, medication probably when they're not fasting, so
Yeah.
after they break the fast or before.
And would that suffice for the day?
It might do. Like I said, it's an individual thing. So some
Yeah.
people have really severe hay fever and can manage with tablets. Some might not.
They just need to have their tablets, medication before and after.
And you know the
fast.
nasal spray that's used,
Yeah.
is it work in a similar way to the asthma inhalers?
In what sense?
No.
As in, how
It's not it's not for the lungs, it's for the nose.
Oh, okay.
It's
So it doesn't go
absorbed into
into.
the
It gets absorbed into the nose and gives you some protection in the
Oh,
nose.
in that case, I don't think it breaks fast then. So,
But you can taste it in your throat. That's the issue.
It goes through the nasal passages and gets absorbed.
so that's what I'm saying. So like,
So what I'm saying is basically the spray is not really for the lungs or the throat. It's actually the
Yeah.
purpose of it
It's
is for the
passages,
nasal
yeah.
the nasal passage. So on that,
it's just like when you do wudu and you put water in your nose,
Yeah.
right? Even if you taste some residue in your nose,
Mm.
some smell of that,
Yeah. So it works in that sense. It
then,
works in that
then
way.
it would. That's why it's good to have mutahid. Right?
excellent, thank you. Hey fever
You've been
sufferers.
promoted
Hey fever sufferers.
from food preparer. Well, actually, you didn't prepare the food.
May Allah bless
Yeah.
his wife
She's
I
probably
mean-
watching.
and his children and his household, his family. I mean,
So I mean, if that's the case, if the nasal inhaler is just simply like putting water into the nose,
yeah, it's a mist spray.
yeah,
I use it every year, so every day.
yeah. So the only problem you're saying is you can taste the residue.
You can taste a bit of it at the back of your throat.
That's just a taste.
Yeah,
So taste doesn't break it fast. Someone puts like seawater in their mouth,
yeah,
spits it out, can taste in the back of the mouth salt.
yeah. Excellent. Okay then, should we carry on?
Yeah. All right. Next.
What are we on?
So let's go to the next
Ma-
one. All right. So
yeah.
next one is So this is basically some artwork. Yeah, mashallah.
Mufti
So
Sahib
you
likes
see-
his artwork.
So
if you
basically,
follow him.
this slide I stole it from Mufti Zakir. Yeah. So I'm not gonna lie, obviously, and it's almost Ramadan as well. COVID-19, so it could, anything could happen. So I took these slides and he just showed this. So for people who don't understand what it means to throw, okay, so I think this is just nice. Or even though these words are just very strange to us. Okay, next one. Okay, so qada, these are the things where qada is only necessary, right? So eating accidentally, and what we meant accidentally was like, let's say for example, let's say someone's cooking food and they just want to taste the food, they don't want to swallow it, right? And accidentally the food goes down the throat. Fast will break, but there's no qada.
Yeah.
Or doing wudu, you're doing wudu, you do a bit gargling, and your friend Uncle Ghulam comes and there's a COVID-19 elbow on your back, and
Who is this
accidentally-
Uncle Ghulam in your life?
and it goes down your throat, right? Your fast breaks. But there's no kafara because you haven't committed a deliberate offense. Okay, this thinking it's Maghrib. This was interesting. Yesterday, someone asked this.
Yeah,
They
that
said-
comes in the books of fiqh, doesn't it?
Yeah, his wife. He goes, my wife told me 7:00. It's
Time to open your
time
fast.
fast. And then I looked at the timetable. It was 7:05. So the fuqaha mentioned it's quite common. It breaks your fast,
Yeah.
right? So it's not an excuse. So not knowing the ruling is not an excuse. Your fast breaks, and you just have to make qada. It's fine.
Yeah.
And like I said, what I would say is that if you're following like the timetables, try to stick to a timetable, right? Try not to jump from timetable to timetable. Try to stick to a timetable. Thinking Fajr hasn't started. Again, this is another common one. The only thing I would say here is there is scope with Fajr starting. I think the fuqaha say that Fajr starting, because there's this issue of the 18 and 15 degrees issue, right? What do they mean by the 18 and 15 degrees? Well, it simply means, like, let's say for example, this is the earth. Yeah, this is where we live on the earth. And let's say for example, the sun, it rises. At what point does the sun rise, if you believe the sun rises, or if you believe the earth spins, whichever one. So let's say the sun rises, and when it rises, how far up does it have to reach from 0 degrees? Yeah, for Fajr to start. So the Quran says when the white line appears, but that white line, it varies. So some of the scholars say 18 degrees. They've used this idea of 18 degrees. And they say when the sun reaches 18 degrees from 0, that's when Fajr starts. That's why they do quite early. And the others say no, 15 degrees. 3 degrees difference, but that could mean the difference between,
An hour.
sometimes 5 minutes to sometimes an hour, depending on what you're in which part of the hemisphere you're on. So this is why this 18 degrees issue isn't it. So I would say because this is like a ikhtilafi issue, there's no big problem here. So if a person did actually make a mistake in a few minutes of Fajr, as long as they're not doing it deliberately, then it shouldn't be a problem.
When's I'm presuming the kafara slide is coming, yeah? Yeah?
Okay, so swallowing. Okay, the other one is forgetfully, then eating and drinking, thinking the fast has broke. So, for example, like person, forgot that they were fasting, right? So someone forgot that they were fasting, and then what happens is that they said, you know what? Like went to the fridge, opened the fridge, took out some nice vanilla milkshake, opened it, and started drinking the vanilla milkshake, and then mom said, "Oh, you fasting? What are you doing?" So closes it. And then says, I broke my fast now anyway. So so they thought forgetfully breaking your fast meant your fast is broken. And so now they've gone and just ordered themselves a meal from the shops and eaten it. So the first time it happened was forgetfully, but the second time was clearly, consciously.
Yeah.
So now does that necessitate kafara? No, it doesn't. Breaks the fast, no kafara. Swallowing items people don't normally eat, like pebbles, coins. I don't know, people like doing that kind of stuff. Just putting some things in their mouth. Water going down the throat whilst gargling, inhaling medicine or smoke deliberately, like we said, the asthma inhalers and all those kind of things. And bukhur as well. Sometimes people put bukhur in their house, and if you inhale it deliberately, then you break your fast. Or like sprays, aerosols. If you spray them and it accidentally goes into your mouth, it's okay. But if you do this, let me have a smell of this, that will break your fast. Because again, perceptible particles are entering into the cavity. Okay. Just click that.
Is it working?
You just have to click that page. Okay, qadha and kafara. When is that necessary? So it's necessary when a person breaks their fast without an excuse. In other words, there's no medical excuse, no reason, and they break their fast. So medical excuse is anything that a person, I would say, ask a doctor. and ask, or ideally ask a scholar who has expertise in medical field and also in fatwa as well. Because sometimes what happens is the scholar will give you a scenario because he's unaware of the medical problems. Something normally nourishing the body or medicinally, right? Anything that normally nourishes the body. When we say normally, that's the key phrase there, is normally. So if something normally doesn't nourish the body, like for example we said someone eats a pebble, right, then fast breaks, but there's no qada, right? Because it's not normally used to nourish the body. Or like they give example of, I don't know, in the past some people used to eat soil. Yeah, they used to just put some soil in their mouth and eat that.
So you wouldn't have to do qada. So the fast has broken though. So I'm presuming you
there's
do
no
have to
kafara.
do.
Because it wasn't an offense.
Sorry,
It wasn't an offense.
Sorry, I thought you said qada.
Same with, for example, let's say you're having a shower. You're having a shower, and for example, there's steam, right? There's definitely going to be steam.
Yeah,
that doesn't break fast.
Yeah.
But if you kind of like deliberately say, you know what, I'm going to inhale it. Like, here's where people become a bit OCD here.
Yeah.
Like they'll go in the shower and trying to do that because they think they can't tell the difference between deliberately, or accidentally. So I would say, if someone asked you, are you deliberately inhaling it? And you said yes, then that's deliberately inhaling. Everything else is not inhaling.
Yeah. Yeah, just in regards to a shower, people that have a shower and never think about the inhaling, so it's just a normal.
Yeah.
No,
and cooking as well. When you're cooking and you got your face over the pot, and the steam is coming up.
Yeah. Don't think of it.
Okay. Penetration into the private parts. So penetration into the private parts means like specifically whether orgasm has reached or not. It necessitates qada and kafara because it's an offense. But if it was like, if for example husband and wife fondled or they kissed each other, or even for example they reached an orgasm without penetration through masturbation or some other means, this would necessitate qada but not kafara. Qada will be necessary if you reach orgasm through any other means without penetration. Kissing does not necessitate qada, no qada. Hugging, no qada, unless it led to an orgasm after that. Okay, anything else? Right, kafara. What is the kafara? So kafara basically is quite straightforward. 2 steps. First step, if you have broken your fast deliberately, committed an offense, you have to fast 60 consecutive days, and you start after Big Eid, after Eid al-Adha. You start then, and you can't have any break in between unless you're a woman who has menstruation, which she has to have a break, obviously, the monthly sort of like break, but no break. So 60 consecutive days, one after the other. Right, and that's tough. It's a tough, like, because the offense was so severe. Like, how dare you belittle Allah's law? Right? How dare you break your fast without an excuse? Right. So this is why the rule is quite strict. Now, if a person can't fast 60 days consecutively, they know they can't do it. It's too much for them. Then they can take the second option, which is to feed 60 people, right? 60 people 2 meals, right? And what's a meal? It's like 1 meal is the amount you give for sadaqatul fitr. Sadaqatul fitr is about 2-3 pounds. So let's work it out then. So okay, let's say 3 pounds. Okay, it's average meal. So 3 pounds, double it, 6 pounds, and times it by 60. Yeah, how much is that?
Times it by 60.
Yeah, because 60, you got to give it 60 in.
Yeah, 60 people.
Yeah.
360 pounds.
Yeah, 360 pounds. So it would work out to be 360 pounds. If a person can afford it, and if a person cannot afford this, then they ask istighfar from Allah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In our scenario, the vast majority of us can afford that. Now, ideally,
and they can spread it out.
Yeah. Ideally, they can pay that amount, but some people, I think, tend to do it in poorer countries as well, where it can be cheaper.
And if you contact, for example, like these charity organizations,
and
you speak to them, and you guys do charities as well. Yeah. So if you contact Aaron Foundation, maybe they can.
Yeah, if you contact your local imams in particular, they'll be able to decide. I always say, try and give only if you are poor and you can't afford that amount, then you'd go to a smaller amount. And a lot of people just generally think it's £5 a day. When you have these questions, how much is fidya? People phone in on the radio station, fidya kitna hai? And it's banjborn din ka hai. Are they just presuming £2.50, £2.50?
Like if you want to be technical, the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned 4 things about the fidya. You can give any 4. It was dates and wheat and barley and raisins. You can give any one of those. But
I was saying, my question is it 2 meals or 1 meal? Because they just generally say £5 a day is your fidya for your roza. Is that them calculating £2.50, £2.50?
Fidya is different. Kafara is different.
Ah, thank you.
Kafara is feeding them.
Yeah.
And fidya is giving them.
Okay. Fidya is the one when you didn't actually break your fast, but you weren't able to keep it full stop. which is coming
so
next.
that's gonna be
Okay.
So if a person has deliberately broken their fast and committed an offense, it'amu sittina miskina,
Yeah.
right? Whereas the fidya one is fidyatu ta'amu miskin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a difference between the two. So you just feed the. Okay. Question. I broke my fast deliberately last Ramadan 5 times. Allah, deliberately, yeah. Do I have to give times 5 kafaras? So 360.
It's a really good question.
The kafara is how much? 360.
360
360 times by 5.
times 5. Ji bhai calculator wale.
Come on, accountants. Why are you guys? My mom says, what's the point of you doing degrees?
I will say we Malanas don't get paid that much, so.
How much is that? 360 times 5.
1800.
1800. 1800, yeah? No, so Hanafis say, whenever it comes to kafaras, you merge them. Kafaras are merged.
So we shouldn't be doing this masla publicly.
Yeah. No, it's merged. In other words, if a person has done this,
We'll edit this out when we go.
they only
This
have
one's
to
going to get
give
edited
once.
out.
Now you see, this brings us to the question, which is, look, remember what I was saying in the beginning, the tick box. The idea is, look, you have a responsibility in the eyes of Allah. Allah is watching. Allah knows your intentions. If a person says, I broke my fast anyway deliberately. I'm not going to break my fast every day now, right? To make a point. Allah knows. On the Day of Judgment, how are you going to answer to Allah?
Yeah, that's right.
That's the whole issue, isn't it? It's like we can find a loophole in the law, but then we have to stand in front of Allah.
Right.
It's not like British law, we can get away with it, and they won't hold us to account. Allah will hold us to account. So this is why we should never even get into this situation where we have a offense that we committed. Right? So this is why the scholars do say when it comes to the only place I found that the Hanafis say kafaras are not merged, it's called tadakhul al-kafarat, is when it comes to Hajj, like ihram, breaking the ihrams.
Yeah.
Multiple there. That's multiple.
The other fuqaha say it's...
Yeah, multiple. That's the only place they say, because it's like an independent event.
Sure.
That's a long masala.
Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Okay. Answer: no. Only one kafara per Ramadan. Right. That's if you haven't. Like, let's say on the first of Ramadan, I break my fast. Right. And then on the next Ramadan, I do that. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in other words, you merge them together. Okay. Next one. The last one. Is the last one? Almost last one. Non-invalidators. Forgetfully eating, drinking, or intercourse. Yeah. Forgetfully means what? You don't remember it's Ramadan.
Yeah.
Number 2, swallowing one's saliva and mucus. So someone, like one of those big birds that have a big, massive, those beak things, and save all their food for their kids.
A pelican.
Yeah. So someone wants to do one of those, and inside their lip they're able to store the whole, Severn Trent reservoir of mucus, and they want to kind of slowly drip themselves with it. So look, saliva won't break your fast, but this is this is a bit silly. This is right. That's why we said this is something that won't invalidate your fast, but it's just like inhaling dust or smoke unintentionally. So it's trying to avoid passive smoking, yeah, or being around lots of smoke. Try to avoid it.
Yeah.
If you have to burn things, don't burn them in Ramadan. Burn them outside Ramadan. Although it might be legal to burn things in your garden anyway. Yeah, but try to avoid these kind of things. Try to avoid being near bakhur. Yeah. Starting the fast in a state of major ritual impurity, it will not break your fast. A lot of people ask this question and say, I woke up this morning and I didn't take a bath and I had sexual intercourse last night, and is my fast done? Yes, it's done. Fast has nothing to do with you being in a state of purity. Okay. Injections, blood transfusions, cuppings, we talked about that, right? These do not break fasts. Cleaning teeth, I heard you on radio about this.
Did you? Is that what you're throwing at? Is that what you're throwing at me?
That's what I'm throwing at you.
Yeah, I would say it doesn't break your fast. The only advice I give to people is that make sure that you clean your mouth out. It's like a siwak in the sense that you put a miswak in your mouth. It has a very strong taste, especially a fresh miswak. You use your miswak and spit it out. And likewise, if you need to, then you use the toothpaste brush and then spit it out, making sure nothing goes down the throat. The question rather would be is then about the flavoring and toothpaste. Can you use toothpaste? And again, if the toothpaste it doesn't go down your throat, then
Yeah.
you're okay.
The residue of taste doesn't break your fast.
Yeah, that can go down. And the reason why I say this, if we're in isolation now, so if you have bad breath, maybe your children and wife and family don't mind, but a lot of us that go to work, and there's a larger number of our community that are professionals, they work in professional scenarios. They need to wake up in the morning, they need to freshen up. Somebody that may have oral issues, then clinical issues, and
sometimes you have to remember that when you go to work and your non-Muslim friends, they're not going to say to you, "MashaAllah, your breath smells." Yeah, you're getting the reward of a musk. Yeah, they're not going to say any of that. They're just going to say, this guy in Ramadan, every time he comes, he looks a bit drowsy. Yeah, his breath smells, and he's grumpy. Yeah, that's how they're going to see it. That's right. And this is, I think you're right. This is how it should be done. Okay, next, swimming. So swimming doesn't break your fast unless you enjoy swimming and drinking as well. Yeah. So if some people, for example, may end up let's say, for example, swimming, and what tends to happen when they swim, the water goes in their nose accidentally. So again, these kind of things will break your fast. Water accidentally going into the nostrils, going into your stomach or whatever, will break your fast. So this is why either if you're going to swim, keep your head above the water, or ensure that water is not going to go in your mouth. Nicotine patches doesn't break your fast. Tasting food without swallowing it doesn't. And what do you mean by tasting food? It means like if you put your finger in the soup, right, and you put it in your mouth, just taste it and spit it out. Spitting out is important, not tasting and drinking. Yeah. Lightly brushing with toothpaste without swallowing. That's fast. That's fine. Yeah. And finally, frequently asked questions. Does vomit break fast?
Large quantities.
No. Vomit will never break your fast. The rule is only what enters the body breaks fast. Well, the only time where vomit breaks fast, the Prophet ﷺ said, is someone who deliberately istaqa'a. Yeah, that's deliberate. It's like, how dare you deliberately try to vomit in Ramadan? Vomiting weakens your body. Yeah. So why on earth are you, a Muslim who is supposed to reserve his energy, trying to deliberately vomit? So the Prophet told the Sahabi up for this and said, whoever deliberately vomits, their fast is broken. So this is where one of those rules, like someone asked this question yesterday as well, and said, how comes Hanafis say that deliberately breaking your fast, deliberately vomiting breaks your fast, whereas all of the vomits don't break your fast? So the simple answer is because the Prophet said it, and if the Prophet says something, even if it goes against our rule, we take what he said. Yeah. Just like, laughter breaks your wudu in salat. Yeah. Right? Even if it doesn't make sense to us, we take that. Does a wet dream break fast? No, wet dream does not break my fast. Right? So if you're asleep, anything that happens in your sleep, you're absolved of that. Does bleeding gums break fast? No, unless so much bleeding occurs that you're swallowing and you can taste lots of blood in your throat. If it's just a little taste, it's fine. Eye drops? No. Asthma inhalers? Yes. Deodorants? Yeah, don't break your fast unless you put it in your nose and you want to inhaling things. Smoking? Yes, smoking breaks fast because there's perceptible particles entering the body. Injections, like we said, if they are intramuscular, they don't break your fast. If it's intravenous, then you look at what kind of injection it is. Can a woman fast if her menstruation stops right after Fajr? No. So this is a condition. Women can only fast if they are free of menstruation from Fajr all the way till Maghrib. So at any moment from Fajr till Maghrib, if any blood is seen as menstruation, breaks the fast. Breastfeeding and pregnancy and fasting, yes, they are given the dispensation, they don't have to fast. Right? The Prophet ﷺ mentioned breastfeeding woman and pregnant woman do not have to fast. They make their fasts up later on. Fasting and traveling. So we mentioned this in the beginning. Yeah. So if you're traveling, you don't have to fast. Even if you're staying at someone's house, like let's say you're going to London, you're going to stay there for 10 days in your friend's house, you don't have to fast. But what's better? أَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. Yeah, fasting is better. Does an ill person have to fast? It depends on what kind of illness it is. Like if it's an illness, my hair's falling out illness. Yeah, that doesn't mean that you
hay fever illness. Yeah,
it's an illness which is going to directly impact the health of the person. Okay, and what is fidya? So fidya is the amount that you give on Eid, what we call fitrana. Yeah, that's it. Now this actually, the lowest I've seen it comes down to is about £1. Yeah, right. I would say just look at the average sort of like amount of a meal. Right, the lowest can go down to £1, the highest can go about £15. So you look at a meal, and it's about £2 or £3. I would say that would be sufficient.
Before you move on, so there's one is what a lot of people give the fidya because they can't fast during the month.
Yeah.
So they've been told by the doctors they can't fast. They're diabetic, type 1 diabetics, elderly people, they're too ill.
Yeah.
They give the fidya for the whole month.
So it's chronic. So if someone has a chronic illness, terminal illness, which is most likely never going to be resolved, then that person is the person that gives fidya.
And that fidya is again the cost for one meal.
That's it.
And then fitrana is something which we give at the end of
On the Eid day.
on the
Or
Eid
before
day,
the Eid day.
the Eid al-Fitr. So there's two different things there, and also so obviously there's probably a lot of the zakat sometimes is connected to the month of Ramadan because a lot of us give our zakat in the month of Ramadan. That's something that we should be aware of. Ask your local imams, and there's probably going to be some information. Maybe Mufti Sahib's got something on YouTube as well that you can take a look at and understand the zakat. But generally have those conversations.
I've got a whole crash course on my zakat on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, Mufti Sahib's got something on there on zakat. Have a look at that, and then like at the end of it is do have the conversation with your local imams to understand that if your zakat date is Ramadan. And the fitrana as well, be aware that that needs to be given. I always have this conversation with our congregation, is making sure we don't take it lastminute.com. You see some people outside the masjid waiting there with the fitrana bucket, and the zakat al-fitr is meant to be given to the poor people. Now in our countries, maybe where we originally came from, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Africa, etc., there are poor people in and around the masjid that you could literally give the money to, but in England it doesn't work like that. So try and take it out in the first 10 days, first 15 days, so that money can get to the recipients that distribute it. And interestingly, last year I think there was even one charity that did a local zakat al-fitr distribution and qurbani distribution, which was interesting. That you may want to look into, where food parcels were given to families for fitrana, and also meat was given to poor people for the adha, the qurbani in Eid, alhamdulillah. Have you got any questions? If you want to throw them our way, just say them out. We'll
This is quite long.
just say it out and we'll repeat it over here.
The question is regarding fasting, pregnancy.
Yeah.
Do fast missed due to pregnancy need to be made, or can you pay fidya? Because the sister's asking, I've had 4 pregnancies and I've missed fasting all 4 pregnancies, but cannot remember how many I've missed in total. She says she's older now, so I can't remember for sure, but I'm pretty confident that some fasts will have been missed in my youth. What is the ruling regarding those missed fasts?
Okay, so the question is, a sister's mentioning that she was pregnant. She went through 4 pregnancies, and in all 4 pregnancies in the month, it was in some stage through Ramadan, and because of which she's missed quite a lot of fasts. Does she have to give fidya? And she also is unaware of how many she's missed, because obviously it was 4 pregnancies.
Yeah. So what she'll have to make them up. She makes them up, and all she has to do is just take a guesstimate, right, of how much she's missed. If she's saying she's missed 4 Ramadans, then 4 Ramadans is 430, isn't it?
Yeah.
So she slowly just makes them up bit by bit. She doesn't have to do them all straight away. And if something, obviously she does die in the process, then Allah knows that she was trying to make them up.
And if she gets to the stage where she no longer can fast because she
gets to a stage where she no longer can fast, then whatever's remaining, she just has to give fidya on each one.
That's right. So first and foremost, sister, if she's listening, the worst case scenario is you missed all 4 Ramadans, 30, 120 fasts you missed, and you start making the qada for those, making them up. And if you get to the stage where you can't do it, illness, old age, etc., then you just give fidya for the rest. Yeah. Any others? I've got a question here: the importance of sunnah, and when can you miss them? So sunnah namaz, sunnah salah.
Oh.
It's a strange one. And we got another sister's asked a question.
Sunnah, the sunnah one, see, when it comes to, we try to follow the Prophet ﷺ as best as possible.
Yeah.
And I always say this, if the Prophet ﷺ, or we were in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ, if we were there, would we want to miss our sunnahs? No. That's the question, isn't it? So they put ourselves in the shoes of a person who's in front of the Prophet ﷺ. Like, he hardly ever missed his sunnahs. So by him doing them, he was forgiven of all of his sins. Right? Therefore, that shows that this is something important for us. So scholars say a person should pray sunnahs as much as possible. If they were to miss them now and again, they won't be sinful for it, but they should never ever belittle them. That's sinful, that is.
Another sister's asked a question about tahajjud salah, how it's going to work, how does it work, how do you pray tahajjud salah, what's the kayfiyah?
So tahajjud salah is simply praying an optional prayer, supererogatory prayers, but at night time. So after Isha all the way till Fajr, any time at that time, ideally in the last 6th portion of the night, which is about an hour or 2 before Fajr. That's the time, the best time to pray tahajjud, but tahajjud can be prayed from Isha all the way until.
And how do you pray them? I think a lot of people are unaware. So is it just a normal 2 rakats? Is anything special you have to pray in them?
Just normal. There's nothing special to read in there. 2 rakats. If you want to do 2 rakats, like you pray 2 rakats in the day. Nothing. 2 or 4 or 6 or 8. The Prophet ﷺ has been reported to pray various numbers. There's varying numbers that he prayed, but you can pray as much as you can.
What would you advise that the amount people
if you
should
can get
do?
up, mashallah, if you can get up for tahajjud, I think that's an excellent thing.
Yeah.
I mean, all of us, we're trying to get up for tahajjud.
So people are in Ramadan, we're going to be at home. A lot of us won't be doing Taraweeh within our homes as well. So we'll try and do our utmost, but they're not going to get in the masjid.
So in Ramadan,
how many rakahs would you advise that they do at home?
In Ramadan, I would say try to do as much as you want to get close to Allah.
Okay.
Do as much as you want to get close to Allah. That's what I would say. So if you've got opportunity to pray,
so should somebody pray even 15, 20, 20, 30? Where would you?
As much as you like. But the thing is, never ever think that this is the amount that other people have to pray.
Yeah.
Because it's reported from the early scholars, even though from the Prophet ﷺ, the maximum that's been reported, like Shabir Ahmad Uthmani rahimahullah mentions in Fath al-Mulhim, he says the maximum that's been reported of night prayers is 19 rakats from the Prophet ﷺ. 19 has been reported. The common hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha in Bukhari is Prophet ﷺ, he never prayed more than 11 rakats in Ramadan, outside Ramadan.
Yeah.
But that was according to her observation.
Yeah.
And according to other Sahaba's observations, he on some occasions prayed more than this.
Yeah.
So this is why, if you read the book by Shaykh Abdul Hayy Laknawi, Iqamat al-Hujjah, he writes in there that some scholars, like Tabi'in, prayed 100 rakats in the night. So it's not proven from the Prophet 100 rakats, but it would be allowed on the basis of
the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
You're asking about itikaf in lockdown.
Yeah, so itikaf in lockdown, you cannot do itikaf according to Hanafi school except in a masjid. The later Hanafis only allowed for a woman to do itikaf in a home because the issue of the attendance of the masjid. Yeah, it was difficult for her to go to the masjid, so therefore they only allowed it on that basis. Otherwise, there is no itikaf. A woman can do itikaf in the house according to Hanafis. All other madhabs do not allow any itikaf for anyone except in the masjid. So in these situations, there's no men itikaf.
So would it be advisable that obviously we're in a state of isolation and masjids are closed? Would it be advisable that masjids allocate maybe one brother to do i'tikaf in the masjid for the sake?
Excellent idea.
So
maybe
for the
have
sake of
that.
having the i'tikaf continuing.
Maybe have that in a masjid.
For the muadhin or the imam just does i'tikaf.
It's considered to be fard kifaya, so there should be at least one person in a community that fulfills this.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Any other questions?
Because what about if, you said at Maghrib time you should rush to open your fast?
Yeah.
So people are struggling to understand how do you combine between namaz and do you eat your food full meal, or do you have a day to pray your salah and then come back to the full meal?
So the question is being asked is that the sunnah encourages us to quickly and hasten in opening our fast when the time enters. As soon as the sun set, we don't delay in opening the fast. So what does that mean in regards to, should we quickly have our meal and then pray our salah, or should we pray our salah and then have the...
Yeah, so I mean, you see, this kind of differs from place to place from what I've seen. So for example, in Pakistan, they used to have 15 minutes between the adhan and between Maghrib. People used to eat food, knock you all back.
Medina is similar as well. They have at least 10, 12, 13, about 15 minutes they have between the adhan and iftar.
Yeah.
I think the hadith mentioning here, or the masala we're talking about here, is actually rather opening your fast straight away. It's not really, you want to open your fast straight away and do your salah, that's fine. You want to open your fast, have your meal for 10, 15 minutes and then do your salah. That just depends on the situation and scenario. I know a lot of the masjids do that now, is that they will open their fast, give you your meal, and then that way they can make sure you've had your meal, and after Maghrib you can get lost and they can clear up.
So I would say it's all to do with practicality.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a hadith of Prophet ﷺ, it says, it's in Tirmidhi, that's mentioned that Anas ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, as Anas ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, that when Isha comes and your food comes, eat your food first.
Yeah.
And they interpret Isha as Maghrib, because Maghrib was the first Isha.
Yeah.
So many of the commentators say what it means is in Ramadan that eat first and then pray.
I think I am that opinion as well, because otherwise, especially kids and young ones, they're hungry, they can see the food, and you're distracted. Otherwise, you're praying salah, and it's really quickly finish salah.
I think the other point is, look, we should remember that when the Sahaba used to eat food, it wasn't 5 dishes, 10 dishes. Nasir, yeah.
Which one? Me? I'm getting done over publicly. He's sitting behind the camera.
That's right, because the voice is not synced with the image. Yeah. So the thing is that it goes back down to, look, we should try, and when we're cutting down on our food, we should also cut down on getting the people at home cook the food, to cook less,
Yeah.
because they're going to be standing in the kitchen for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and it's not very nice for them that they have to do all that preparation. It's all swallowed up in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So cut down, maybe just have 1 meal, 2 meals, that's it, 2 like dishes, khalas. So I think people need to use practicality instead of trying to follow the word of the law.
Jazakumullah.
You said that qada is only if you eat something that is normally eaten as food. So if you swallow pepper, you don't have to do qada.
You go to qada, kafara.
There's no kafara.
There's no kafara. What about smoking and stuff then?
No kafara.
No kafara.
No kafara on smoking. Qada.
Yeah. Okay then.
There's a question not really related to the topics about nafil salat.
Yeah, go on.
The question was that somebody's asking that I was told when as a child that you sit down and pray nafil, not standing. Is this correct, or can you pray nafil standing?
So praying nafil.
So the question is that someone thinks or was informed that nafil should be prayed sitting down, and the question is that can the person actually stand up and do their nafil as well?
So according to the hadith of Prophet ﷺ, he said that the salat of the one standing and the salat of the one sitting, he said the salat of the one sitting is half the reward of the salat of the one standing. This is for nafil, this was. So therefore, based on that, the idea is that the Prophet ﷺ allowed sitting in nafil, but the optimal way of praying your nafil, the most reward you get is standing. And if your body is obviously tired, weak, and you can't stand, then by sitting you get the same reward as standing. So it's not necessary to sit, it's actually more rewarding to stand up. But if you don't want to stand, you can sit down, but you still have to do full ruku and full sujood. So you don't do ishara. Now some people get this confused, don't they? Like in the mosque sometimes you see you finish your salat, you're going out and you see some guys praying and they're doing ishara. So they think that by being allowed to pray sitting means you don't have to do ruku and sujood. Like lower your back and put your head on the ground. They think you don't have to. No, you have to do that. That's fard.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to end it there. Jazakumullah khairan. First and foremost to Mufti Liaquat Saab, to As-Sufa for hosting us here today, and the Abrahamic Foundation team that have been working behind the scenes and had to turn this into an online sort of stream for all of us. A couple of requests. Number one is that inshallah in the next couple of days the Abrahamic Foundation's Ramadan schedule will come out. So if anybody wants to stay up to date, please keep an eye on our website or the social media platforms, and likewise if you can subscribe to the page, that way you can stay updated inshallah.